two. Check.
This is some guy, Rob Russo,
Check
some
two.
leftist based in
goodness.
Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Oh my goodness, Lucid Raid. Thank you, Lucid, for the raid. Welcome. Hello, Raiders. Bring it on in here, Raiders. I am Rob. Hello. Smash the follow button.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Smash the follow button if you want to contribute to...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The most subversive stream.
Lucid wiggle.
You can count on me. You're going to have good
on
old
Twitch.
Rob to talk you through all this.
Lucid love, lucid cult, lucid love, TRRS friendship triangle, TRRS friendship triangle, TRRS friendship triangle.
Followed closely by, of course, in terms of subversiveness, followed closely by Lucid Fox. It's the world's most subversive stream, but just by a hair. Just by a hair. Thank you again, Lucid, for the raid. And please, new viewers, raiders, please smash the follow button. And in fact, you know what? It's easy to, I could sit here and kind of explain who I am and what the community is about, but fortunately for you, you're in luck, everyone. You're in luck today because I've actually pre-prepared a little presentation about the community that I think you might be interested in. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and throw that on now. I prepared a little video presentation.
Thank you
for potential new community members. So you're right on time to see this. You're right on time. Okay? So I'm going to go over here. And again, if you're new to the community, Lucid, I hope you're watching this. I don't know if Lucid's still around, but Lucid, I hope you're watching this because this is tremendous. If you're new to the community, folks, I prepared this little video to explain what TRRS is and what the community is about, who I am, and more importantly, what the friendship triangle is, which is, I know, something that Lucid Fox can attest to. It's been very life-changing for Lucid as well, being part of this community. Anyway, here we go. If it's your first time in the channel, here's a little explanation about what this community is all about. Here we go.
Thank you for expressing interest in the Friendship Triangle community. We would be thrilled to have you on board as a member of our exclusive platform.
It's not a cult.
As you may know, the Friendship Triangle is Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, friendship access and trickle-down clout, tiered reward system. Today you have an amazing opportunity to join the base level of the Friendship Triangle system. Once you are part of the community, you'll have the ability to rise through the ranks and achieve higher levels of access and rewards. One way to do this is by gifting subscriptions to your fellow members or by inviting your friends and family members to join our community. As you ascend the tiers, you will be exposed to a range of new and exciting benefits, such as exclusive content, advanced features, and access to our elite community members. We are confident that you will enjoy all the perks that come with being part of the Friendship Triangle. However, we also want to remind you that not all friends and family members are to be trusted, especially those who may not support your new lifestyle. That's why we encourage you to focus on building meaningful relationships within our community, where you will find like-minded individuals who share your interests and values. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are always here to support our members and ensure that your experience with the Friendship Triangle is enjoyable. We're glad that you are considering joining the Friendship Triangle community. We look forward to seeing you rise through the Chaos Zone and all the way into the Elite tier. It's not a cult.
See, it says it right there. It says it right there for anyone that was concerned about that. For anyone that was concerned about that, it says that right there. So that is the Friendship Triangle. That's what this community is about. That's what TRRS is about. I don't need to explain it to you. That's why I prepared this handy video to show to people the little VHS onboarding. So if you do want to subscribe, just like the people just now that I'm going to say thank you to, Frankster Says for the 10 months of Tier 1. Thank you, Frankster. Thank you, Justinian. for the 20 months of Tier 1, Justinian. And thank you, Quiet185, for the 8 months of Tier 1. Three important members of the Friendship Triangle community.
To talk you through all this.
And thank you, GMO Radio, for the gifted sub. How long is it ironic before it's not? No, it's unironically not a cult, though. That's the thing. If it's a cult, you have to tell me it's a cult. That's the law. Exactly. It says explicitly in the video. Just because I know sometimes there's some comments and concerns about the shape, the two-dimensional triangle shape of the community. You know, the whole tiered system, the tiered reward system. I do get some comments about that, so I just wanted to make sure in this video that it was very clearly explained. You know, so that's it. That's what the community is about. Today on the stream, we just started. I had a little bit of a gaming stream at the beginning of the day with some of my gaming crew. The rewards are tiered for your convenience, chat. That's right, Risk Inverse. Thank you for clarifying that. Bit of a gaming stream at first part of the day, and now I just got here. We're going to hang out a little bit. I have some ramen noodles I'm gonna eat while we sort of hang out and shoot the shit a little bit, and then I would like to continue on. Yesterday we started a little bit of a deeper dive into the LAROUCHITES and what they're all about in the wake of this like Rage Against the War Machine rally that took place over the weekend. That a lot of these kind of like patriotic socialists or MAGA communists or LAROUCHITES or whatever you want to call them were kind of lecturing everybody about not supporting. So digging into a little bit about this LAROUCHITE character, the LaRouche, the person himself, and the kind of LAROUCHITE cult that, and the way that they use kind of the language of Marxism, the language of anti-imperialism to basically lead people down this like reactionary path. That is what we will be doing today. Just at first, though, I'm just going to kind of hang out. We can chit-chat a little bit more lighthearted. Then later on, we will be getting more into that, into the part 2 of our deep dive into the LaRouchites. We had noodles yesterday. That's true. I do have different kinds of noodles today. I had some Thai red curry noodles yesterday, and today I got one of these bad boys. With an egg in there. There is an egg in there, just to be clear, as well. When I was going grocery shopping yesterday, I picked up a bunch of ramen cups that I could enjoy. Throughout the week. They put a dehydrated egg in there. No, I put an egg in there. I cracked an egg in there and then poured the boiling water on there. I had a terrible dream this morning that some gamer had taken over Rob's stream. What a relief. It was just a dream. It was all just a dream. We picked up a big Fort Battle Royale win. That was wonderful. That was exciting. I'm still finishing up a flat of lime shrimp cup noodles that I got ridic cheap. That sounds good. Lime shrimp cup. That sounds very good. I like to put dried seaweed in my cup noodle. It's nice to you throw in the different little additions like that. You give that little zest. You know, it's nice. It's nice. Jay has never had ramen. That's interesting. Man. You're kind of missing out. you're kind of missing out. Dash of sesame oil. Okay, there we go. That sounds nice. Went to RATWM. You'd be shocked to learn Jimmy rehashed his old shtick of attacking on a bunch of other issues, namely vaccine skepticism to the anti-war movement in his speech. That is not shocking, actually. Yet we watched some of it yesterday, and it seemed like he was more interested in like telling jokes than actually saying anything substantial or meaningful. But that's it. I mean, that's exactly why we need to talk about these like LaRoucheites and the way that they use the language of, Marxism, anti-imperialism in order to advance a kind of reactionary agenda. We saw a lot of the same stuff in the trucker convoys here in Canada. A lot of the same folks telling us that we needed to go down and support those people and turn them into socialists or whatever. And yeah, the way we need to embrace this kind of like reactionary or socially conservative viewpoint in order to bring workers into this movement. And then, of course, the caveat there being which kind of workers we're talking about and who counts as being a worker and who doesn't count. And, digging into that, you'd be surprised to find out who doesn't actually is not included in this worker movement that they're trying to put together. Couldn't make it as a comedian, so I had to make a cult to get laughs. Imagine someone who like failed as an entertainer and then started this like online cult in order to like advance their own career. It's just sickening. It's just sickening behavior, and very unfortunate. Fortunately, not something that you would ever have to be worried about over here on this channel. Real low lifes over there. This sick individual. That's right. Not workers, the fast food servers, but the real workers are the millionaires who live in a gated community in the suburbs and own a trucking company and drive like a Ford F-150, despite never actually putting anything in the back of that. So that's what we'll be digging into a bit more later. This, I imagine, is probably still too hot to eat. My egg. I kind of lost my egg beneath all the noodles. Oh well. It'll turn up. It'll turn up eventually. I'm not too concerned. Little egg treat at the end. That's right. Although ideally you don't want it to cook too much, so you get that kind of soft boiled vibe. But oh well. Oh well. So how was the Lucid stream today? What did you folks talk about over on the Lucid Fox stream this fine day? Well, I was gaming. What were y'all up to? That thick yolk, that's right. Got gender fucked. Interesting. Interesting. The gaming stream was very good, and the team were a hoot. Thank you, Comrade Social Distancing. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed my Ripley character as well. I was doing the boneless dance with Ripley from Aliens. I mean, this could start us on some discourse as well, right? I tweeted this today. we've been talking lately about the freak out over like 15-minute cities. And what do you think? Like, what do you think about this? It's a really good feature on Twitter that your DMs are open every single time you open the website. I think that's good. I think it's good that happens. What do you think about this idea? We've seen some of the freak out over 15-minute cities and, you know, what they do and do not involve. Apparently some of the weirdos that are freaking out about this, they think the idea of a 15-minute city is that you're literally not allowed to ever go anywhere. That's more than 15 minutes away. That's what they think this is. But what about this, though? What about inside the 15... Once they activate this initiative, what if they... thank you, John. I actually wanted to look at that exact tweet. You read my mind, John. What if inside the 15-minute city, when they activate the initiative, all trucks are confiscated in the immediate vicinity and their former owners undergo mandatory sissification? What about that? I feel like this would like improve society measurably. If we both banned the trucks and sissified the owners, I think it would lead to a lot of good things. It would lead to a lot of good things in our culture. Can we move from sissification to bimbofication? That's obviously phase 3. It's just the beginning of the process. So 15 minutes to the sissification factory. You make it 10 minutes, we got a deal. It's so funny these guys freaking out about the 15-minute cities. It's just wild. Lol, the dude that said you'd never find the lesbian bean place. Wait, someone said that to me? But someone was talking shit. Gonna buy a truck just to reserve a spot. Exactly. I mean, you don't want to miss. This is a great deal. It's free state-sanctioned sissification. No, someone said it about themselves on the OG thread. Okay, there we go. I see. Anyone who drives a truck they don't need is a bottom anyway. It's true. It's absolutely true. It's so funny, and thank you, John McCain's Ghost, for sending this. I saw Thomas Violence collected some of this as well. It's really just strange. Like, again, I saw some of the freak out over this on TikTok or whatever, these people saying, like, if you can never go visit friends and family over 15 minutes away, which is, they're just bullshit that they're making up. Not that they do that anyway, but it's just bullshit that they're making up. But I think it's really fascinating, this freak out. Like, it's funny to laugh at, but it's also just very fascinating exploring the ways that car culture specifically have like just melted people's brains. And like that's ultimately what's behind this that's what's behind this freak out, right? It's just people that have been just completely warped by car culture, and we're just sitting in a car in traffic, spending hours of your life sitting in your car in traffic as like part of their identity. It's like an inseparable part of their identity now that they think is under attack by people suggesting that we have some kind of like slightly more green urban planning so you can live in your city and have your school and daycare and amenities, groceries, etc. within a 15-minute walk or bike ride of you, which is just like a fairly harmless idea. It's a very mild way to like confront these forces, to get people out of their cars, to maybe reduce our emissions a little bit. And they're absolutely losing their fucking minds. No, these people are not memeing. They're not. So listen, Megan the Oracle says, why does everything need to be within 15 minutes of me? And this guy Nate says, I'm legitimately confused. Do you enjoy driving 30 minutes for groceries or for a 1-hour ambulance ride if you require emergency medical care? Why wouldn't you want to live in a local community like that? Our grandparents all did it. You just don't want the globalist version of it. I don't know what that last part is all about. And she says, I'm legitimately confused, Nate. What's your brand of socialism? Why can't my kid's school be 45 minutes away? And this Nate says, this has nothing to do with socialism. It's a matter of convenience. Sure, your kid's school could be 45 minutes away, but if one was closer and just as good, can you tell me why you wouldn't choose that instead? Is there a legitimate reason? Help me understand. And then they're reaching so hard. Why does everything have to be about convenience? What's wrong with spending time together during the commute? That's obviously the best family time, right? That's the best time to bond and spend time together as a family, right? And you're stuck in your car driving your kids to school for like 45 minutes, which is something that these people literally want to do for some reason. He says, what's wrong with spending the extra time at home? Why does it have to be on a long commute in traffic? And this person says, what's wrong with spending time outside? Or one size fits all. E.g., if you like to be at home, everyone must like it too. Like, it's so strange. These people are literally, they're doing the, like, this is what they took from us kind of shtick because of the possible idea of maybe in the future not spending their entire lives, like, stuck in traffic, sitting in their cars. The commute struggle is just another form of faux victimhood they cling to. And the faux victimhood is really what it's all about. As we've been talking about it. Yeah, the kids on the tablet and you yelling at traffic. Wonderful quality time. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's super relaxed and calm, feeling good in that situation. Megan wants to take her kids to a private religious school where all the white people go. Well, that's the unsaid part, for sure. That's the part that remains unsaid. But it's the faux victimhood thing. Again, a lot of this freak out over 15-minute cities and digital ID. That's the big thing, too. Digital ID. Oh, no. The idea that, like, the government doesn't already have our data, that these big, unaccountable private social media companies, including TikTok, where they're recording all these rants, don't have all our fucking data and information already. You know, the idea that, or we're going to have ID, ID, like it's in your wallet, but what if it's digital? Like, that's what they're freaking out about. Or 15-minute cities. And a lot of these folks came from the, like, trucker convoy movement. And, their brains, like, can't really, like, reconcile with the reality that they got everything that they wanted, that there are no more vaccine mandates or lockdowns or mask mandates, or no one's really asking them to do anything. And now we've made the whole, like, pandemic public health situation just purely a matter of, like, individual responsibility. And, there's nothing for them to complain about anymore. Like, they literally got every single thing that they wanted. But now, because they still need to feel this pervasive sense of victimhood, or that feel that they're part of some, like, struggle against these, like, powerful forces that are trying to control them, they latch onto this even more ridiculous idea, which is, like, literally just, like, some smarter urban planning. Even the basic idea of it, and they latch onto that, and they cling to things like sitting in traffic in their fucking cars as being, that's what's being, this, like, freedom that's being taken away from them. They need to, they got bored making death threats to trans people. That's right. Well, they're still doing that, though, unfortunately. But that's it. They don't, they need to, their whole identities are just, like, based around feeling like they are victimized and feeling this kind of pathological victimization complex. They got everything that they wanted with their little convoy there. No more public health measures. So now they've, like, moved on to this 15-minute cities. The idea of, groceries and the doctor and your school being 15 minutes away. This is the thing that's oppressing them now, while they simultaneously accuse everyone else of being snowflakes. That's always the funniest thing. It's like the conservatives, like, going back years now since this whole, like, alt-right movement started, this idea of calling people, all these like to complain, they're snowflakes, they want everyone to cater to them, and it's literally all these people do is complain about the dumbest bullshit. That's all they do. Their whole identity is just complaining and whining and moaning and acting like these perpetual victims. For what? Because there's, like, a play in Central Park, a Shakespearean play that depicted Donald Trump as Caesar. And they're like, oh my God, this is offensive to me. Everything offends them. And they simultaneously accuse others of doing the exact same thing. Whereas they accuse trans people of, like, wanting to be treated with basic respect and dignity. as being the ones that are like complaining over nothing, while they're complaining about fucking the fact that they might not have to spend every waking moment of their life stuck in their goddamn car. They can't have a better life. That makes my life worse. Exactly. That's the reactionary argument. Every single time, that's what the TERFs say. Even, when someone is getting rights, that means I am losing something. That means there's something is being taken away from me. I have to drive my 3 children to 3 schools, totaling a 2.3-hour commute. Triggered much lives? There we go. Congratulations, I guess. You're living the life of ultimate freedom. Ultimate freedom while working for a boss that has the ability to take away your employment at any fucking time. And literally dictates how you spend your life and how much free time you have. Right? That's the amazing thing. These people are looking for this, like, this 1984 Orwellian style oppressive authoritarian system, waiting for it to happen when they live in it already and are in fact defending it with their very lives. They're throwing their bodies on the tracks to ensure that nothing ever changes about this extremely authoritarian bourgeois dictatorship that we all live in. Honestly, Rob, as a podcaster, you should probably back off wanting to eliminate 2-hour commutes. That is very true. That is very true. More people should be spending time in their cars. They should watch this Twitch stream while stuck in their cars. I want to brag about actually living in a 15-minute city, but the sad truth is my country is so tiny, so everything is naturally within 15 minutes of each other. Yeah, I mean, it's like that Montreal, it could be described as that, and it's like, it's actually quite nice. It's nice. Robcast while you chores. That's the thing. Like, once I stopped commuting, I stopped listening to podcasts as much, but I'm a big podcasting. Well, I don't even really listen to podcasts myself that much anymore, but when I'm doing dishes, when I'm tidying up, that's the best time. That's the podcast zone. I listen to podcasts while I game. That sounds pretty good. Fester's in his car right now. Wonderful. There we go. Now, where's my egg? My egg is just seriously gone. It just vanished. It disintegrated. Strange. It's nice though. It's very spicy, this one. The libs taxed my egg away. That's right. Very silly, the whole 15-minute city thing. Very, very silly. The worst part is how effective they are in changing policy. Here in the UK, the government shut down the Tavistock Clinic, the largest and only gender care clinic that treats children. Well, that's the thing. Like, whether we're talking about this like trans panic, this anti-trans hysteria, or we're talking about these convoy types, it's so fucking enraging how the state will instantly acquiesce to a lot of the whining complaints of these reactionary groups because they know it ultimately upholds the status quo. Whereas, you know, black, brown, and indigenous people that are like asking not to be murdered by the police are treated like pariahs, or treated like, no, now we have to give the police even more money because you hurt their feelings, you know? Or anyone protesting for any kind of social justice, any kind of economic justice, they get treated as hostile, where these like, you know, astroturfed reactionary fucking weirdos and freaks campaigning to take away people's rights, campaigning to eliminate public health measures because it upsets their precious little sensibilities. We've got to make sure we listen to them right away. You know? It's just enraging. Capital funds reactionaries to fund to destroy public health. Many such cases. It's very true. Many such cases. Just wanted to see if there was maybe a short video we could take a look at. I did want to take a look at Putin's speech today as well. There's that also that I wanted to take a look at. Obviously, because we are pro-Putin and support Putin unequivocally on this stream, as you know. As you all know, big-time Putinists over here, so looking forward to checking out what the big man is saying today. James O'Brien did an hour about this on LBC yesterday, and it's wild what people in the UK are saying, and they're not as much as car culture as North America. Esther, I mean, that's the amazing thing, too, is like in the UK, not only is it not as much car culture, but a lot of these cities are like this is just how urban design used to be. You know? A lot of cities in the UK are like this. A lot of the people that are complaining about this probably live in cities exactly like that. Just got here, saw talk of an egg. Do y'all ever put a medium fried egg in with the ramen? The yolk makes the broth super rich plus some protein. I do like a poached or like a soft boiled. But the fried one is nice as well. My egg kind of like broke under the noodle, so I didn't really get the noodles with the yolk, but it is mixed with the broth and it made my broth very rich. I would love for someone in the UK complaining about this stuff to be forced to live in a US city and use our healthcare. Yeah, well, like I've been talking about, Johnny, like Canadian healthcare is being privatized. It's being privatized right now. And Ontario is like a test version of it, but it's going on right now. And these very same people are supporting it. Let me see if I can find some of that video. Oh, the broth is very good. Very good. I kind of want to hear what these British people are saying about this. There's some shorts. Is there a clip? Is there a clip of you mentioned the whole LBC thing, taking calls? Is there a clip of that?
In practice, 15-minute cities mean setting up cameras everywhere to keep track of where everyone is driving.
Imagine in the UK if they set up cameras everywhere. Holy shit, that's terrifying. That is terrifying. What a terrifying thought. Just imagine if they set up CCTV cameras all over the UK. What a horrible future. I'm glad these folks are really protesting that, because that would be really terrifying stuff. Again, a lot of these same people were like, yeah, of course I'll put a Ring camera on my doorbell and on my front door and give the Amazon Corporation working with law enforcement just a full view of the exterior of my home at all times. But yeah, 15 minutes, there might be a couple cameras there. Can you imagine?
To ensure that they do not leave their designated district too frequently. In the case of Oxford, these boundaries will be enforced through traffic filters that will automatically issue fines to violating vehicles. The pilot is tentatively scheduled for the start of 2024, and it will see the city of Oxford divided into 6 districts. Those living in a particular area will be allowed to drive into other districts up to 100 times a year. After that, fines get issued. Now this sounds like a lot until you realise that many people need to drive through several districts to commute to work. The council addressed these concerns by saying that commuters could just use the ring roads outside of the main city. The community responded by pointing out that this would take a lot more time and cause a lot more pollution. And reducing pollution and car use is supposedly the purpose of the pilot. In practice, 15-minute cities mean setting up.
Once again, another chatter is silenced because of their insistence on using this like P badge meme, which is not even accurate. But thank you, Old Dutch, for the 23 months resub at tier 2 and for designing this really cool hoodie. Which you can purchase by using the ! merch command in the chat. Yeah, it sounds like absolute bullshit. You aren't allowed to leave your district. Cry more, Bell End. I haven't heard Bell End for a while. That's nice. They're just making this shit up, turning a great environmental idea like 15-minute cities into a dystopian lie about authoritarian control of movement. Yeah, and they're mixing it in with like the social credit stuff as well. It's a hodgepodge of a number of different bizarre sort of conspiracies. Simple as. And again, we need to be doing so much more. We need to be doing so much more to get people out of their cars. But like, this is actually something that would at least do something. Any place we can download high-res versions of the Friendship Triangle reunion image? We could probably arrange that somehow, I think. Yeah, like, we should be encouraging people to get out of their cars. We should have free transit to make it so it says, like, it's not, you don't need to drive your car everywhere. We should make it so it's like you really just need your car if you have one in certain circumstances. And it should be as easy as possible to both get around your city and to have access to all the amenities and things that you need nearby. You know?
Well, hello.
Talking about the real owners now. Talking about the real owners.
And this, I imagine the person that's sharing this George Carlin clip is someone that George Carlin would think was a huge fucking idiot, if I had to guess.
In practice, 15 minutes.
Here's the GB news. Here's like the new Britain. This is like, again, we've talked about being in Verhoeven world before. GB news just seems like something you would see in the background of a Verhoeven movie, like about the UK.
What can you do in 15 minutes? Empty the washing machine and hang up your fresh laundry? Read a couple of chapters of your favourite book? Watch half an episode of How I Met Your Mother? Well, creepy local authority bureaucrats would like to see your entire existence boiled down to the duration of a quarter of an hour, with the arrival of so-called 15-minute cities. This dystopian plan will see roads in some of Britain's most iconic towns and cities being blocked off, with cars being restricted to certain areas, all overseen by number plate recognition cameras installed everywhere, with a surveillance culture that would make Pyongyang envious.
Oh, it's just like North Korea.
In some places, your car would have an allowance to drive on certain streets.
If you're telling me, if you're telling me that this is going to make our society more like North Korea, well, guess what? I think that's good, and I would like to see more of it. That sounds great, actually.
Days in the year, some roads out of bounds to all. Many consider this.
In fact, like it's actually true that cities like Pyongyang in North Korea are, because its car culture is not as prevalent there. There's people that have cars, but it's way less common, partially because the country's been under blockade for decades, and it's difficult. They've had to enact this kind of urban design that prioritizes walking and taking public transport, and it's actually pretty cool when you actually look into how people get around these places. 'Tis a marvelous freeze frame. Well, this is what I mean, Lamport. The whole idea about CCTVs, like this already exists. The idea that there's CCTVs and cameras everywhere recording your every move in the UK, that is already a thing that happens today, currently. Like, what the fuck are these people talking about? Yeah, imagine you can go to a nice old city like Cambridge and there are no cars. Seriously, and if you live in a city where they've ever taken any of these areas and turned them into more urban areas, it's always really incredible when they take cars out of these places and all of a sudden it opens up and there's people walking around. You realize, oh, I live in like a community of other human beings, and the human beings aren't just like shunted off to this tiny little sidewalk and all the urban infrastructure is given to these massive cars. It totally drastically changes these areas for the better, you know? Yeah, the Europhile return guys should love this idea. That's right. It's really bizarre.
Laudable. 15-minute cities make everything walkable. You can go by foot to grab a coffee.
Oh, no.
Do your grocery shopping, have a pint. And if you don't fancy walking, everything you need is just a 5-minute bicycle ride away. Lovely.
It is lovely,
Fans
actually.
of this scheme say it will deal with traffic and congestion and make life easier, more convenient and sustainable for locals. Except that, as the MP Nick Fletcher, who's raised a question about this in Parliament, points out, these low-traffic neighbourhoods are having an impact on small businesses, given the lack of passing trade they now receive. Take a listen.
Will the leader please set aside some time?
Has anyone thought of the small businesses?
Socialist concept of so-called 15-minute cities and 20-minute neighbourhoods. Ultra-low emission zones in their present form do untold economic damage to any city. However, the second step after these zones will take away personal freedoms as well. Sheffield is already on this journey, and I do not want Doncaster, which is also a Labour-run socialist council, to do the same. Low emission zones cost the taxpayer money, simple as. However, 15-minute cities will cost us our personal freedom, and that cannot be right.
It's funny but sad seeing the places they closed to cars during COVID that are open again now. Just so much worse. A cool little park and restaurants exposed, but up to it, but now it's just parking lot for like 10 cars again. I know, it's fucking... This is what these people want. This is what they want our society to look like. Yeah, this guy has been practicing the Tucker face. That's true. You get to get that forehead wrinkle. Socialists like Keir Starmer want to make your city a 15-minute city, innit?
Well, the minister who answered his question, Penny Mordaunt, did not disagree. So projects like ultra-low emission zones in central London and other British cities is arguably impacting enterprise.
Oh,
and
bruv, that green M&M sexy,
curtailing
innit?
our way of life. The Telegraph today report that a low-traffic neighbourhood scheme in Haringey in North London has blocked off certain residential streets with cameras or planters to stop motor traffic using the neighbourhood as a through route.
Good, and it's like where people's kids play and stuff. Heaven forbid that people in these urban neighborhoods can have kids that can like go outside and play around without being in fear of being crushed by a fucking car. Let's make sure that none of that socialist nonsense is not being allowed. You have to make it as dangerous as possible. Yes, it's like UKOAN. Yes, it is. Eminem makes me randy, yeah? Well, not anymore, mate. Innit? Ain't a problem, I fancy a shag with the candy bird. Simple as, bruv. This is how they talk over there. I believe the Canadian documentary that proved this concept works should be revisited. Trailer Park Boys. That's right. That's right. God, this is so fucking annoying, this whole thing.
The council defended its actions, saying it aims to make it safer and easier to walk, wheel, scoot, cycle and shop locally. 6 months on, however, and the paper reports that 3/4 of traders on one Haringey street in particular are thinking of leaving in the next 18 months, and 3 have already shut up shop. One of them is My Little Home Emporium, a once bustling vintage furniture shop that now stands shuttered and derelict with low-traffic neighbourhood planters blocking the road next to it. Now, some people characterise these 15-minute cities as an effective climate lockdown. Now, I think that's strong language and potentially misleading. I'm not sure that's what they are. Clean air looks to be a big motivating factor, and who doesn't want that? But it's clear that this policy, which local authorities argue will also help get carbon emissions down, is an unprecedented assault on how we go about living our lives.
The libs have come for the bleeding furniture emporium now. They don't do walk-through traffic. Like, I'm sorry, your fucking furniture store is going out of business. Maybe the reason for that is like their rent prices. Maybe that would have something to do with that. Maybe you wouldn't need so much traffic coming through that you're worried about planters going up and blocking cars on streets. Maybe the reason is like the exorbitant prices for housing and businesses, which of course shot directly up at like a 90-degree angle immediately after the Thatcher period, the Thatcher that all these people fucking fetishize and love and worship, which led to an absolute explosion in prices for housing or your precious little small businesses. You're the fucking spending money on vintage furniture when your electricity is like £1,000 a month. Or your rent. That's right. Did I have a stake through her heart? Make sure she never come back. Jesus Christ.
Allowing the state to control your movements by car. It genuinely feels like a policy that would happen in mainland China, not Sheffield, Canterbury, Bristol, or
you got the North Korea and the China bashing. Just in case we didn't do, what are we, a bunch of Asians? You got to do that twice though, just to really, really drive it home. If they didn't get the message the first time, now we're going to go back to that, go back to the well. Yeah, Brits are the most controlled, power-worshipping, boot-licking freaks in the entire world. I wish the UK was more like China as well. I agree. I agree with that.
Oxford. How shameful that any of this should happen in Britain, the home of liberal democracy, the home of free speech, the home of individual self-determination. People aren't stupid. Most people don't use cars unnecessarily. They get behind the wheel when they need to get somewhere, perhaps taking others with them, dropping the kids off to school, or a builder with colleagues in the back, or taking tools to a job. During the pandemic, when the likes of myself and others warned that we were setting a precedent, allowing the state to encroach so much on our lives, controlling our movements to stop COVID, we were labelled mad conspiracy theorists. Well, state
crazy that someone would say that about
is,
you.
in my view, now the norm. And these 15-minute cities, low traffic neighbourhoods and ULEZ zones are just another example. I'm sorry, but in a free country, you ought to be able to get in a car and drive wherever you like. But that freedom is starting to feel like a distant memory. These deeply illiberal, un-British 15-minute cities are beyond the pale. They're hurting communities, they're hurting small businesses, and they've got to go. It took me less than 15 minutes to realise they're a terrible idea.
And then the smug face at the end, too. That face when the socialists on the city council want to transform your bleeding city into Pyongyang. Okay, listen, I know we have some British people in the chat, but I think there's something that we need to do right now. I just heard about this website the other day. Asteroid launcher. So I think we're going to just run a little simulation. We're going to run a little simulation.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
TRRS marks.
Thank you, Moni Love 820. 8 months of Prime. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here's my response to that news hit. You got different kinds of asteroids: iron, stone, carbon. You got a comet. I think iron is good. We're gonna a 1 kilometer in diameter iron asteroid striking the UK just above Oxford there. At the speed of 100 kilometers per hour, coming at an impact angle of 45 degrees. That's picture. It's a 15-minute asteroid. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Oh. Well, it wasn't enough to sink the whole island. We got an estimated 773 meters deep in the seafloor, creating a 1.8 kilometer tall tsunami. Impacted the water at 100 kilometers per second. That was per second, okay. The impact is equivalent to 3,785 gigatons of TNT. An estimated 60,697 people vaporized. Oh God, Ghost, that's so disturbing. That's so disturbing. I'm gonna think about that guy's face the next time I, Should we target Westminster? Ideally, I think if you could cleave, I wouldn't want to sink the entire UK into the sea, I think, but if you could cleave it around here, like south of Birmingham, right? Birmingham is really cool. I've hung out there. Liverpool, very cool place. Wales. You got Scotland, you got Northern Ireland. There's some decent stuff up there. Can we save Cornwall? I think we can. Can we? I love Brighton. Brighton's lovely, but unfortunately it's got to go. Unfortunately, we got to say goodnight to Brighton. Brighton and Bournemouth. I like Scotland as well. It's where my ancestors come from. What about a direct hit? A direct hit on London. Let's do a new asteroid. This one's going to be a direct hit of a comet, a 1 kilometer in diameter comet traveling at a speed of 100 kilometers per second. And you know what? We're going to put the impact angle at 90 degrees. This is just straight down. This is just a straight shot. Even bigger? Let's just max it out. Let's just max out all the sliders. Why not? Let's just max out all the sliders. So this is a 1.5 kilometer comet traveling at a speed of 100 kilometers per second and an impact angle of 90 degrees. Oh no. Somehow vaporized less people. That's interesting. 56,441 people vaporized. The crater is 411 meters deep in the seafloor, creating a 1.8 kilometer tall tsunami, equivalent of 1,228 gigatons of TNT. Oh, okay, there's even more. Oh, okay, Jesus. Okay. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Created a 69 kilometer wide fireball. Okay. Yeah. This seemed like low. This seemed low. This is more, now we're cooking with gas here. And you can keep scrolling. So we got an estimated 36,393,000 people dying in the fireball. An additional 11 million plus with third degree burns. 17 million with second degree burns. Clothes catching on fire. We even got a lot of Western Europe on here. France takes a big hit here. Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany. Some serious collateral damage on there. A 295 decibel shockwave takes out another 10 million people. Homes collapsing within 500 kilometers. We got a 300 kilometer radius of ruptured eardrums and 200 kilometer radius of lung damage. A massive wind blast here, and a 5.9 magnitude earthquake as well. That's what I think about that little 15-minute city launch. Let's take a look at that diatribe. Let's take a look at that fireball again. Damn. It seemed like really minor at first, just the crater. I didn't realize you had to scroll down. That's a pretty serious fireball, though. No more Dutch reply, guys. Yeah. You hit Denmark. Let me know a couple minutes in advance so I can hug my cat a final time. You'd be okay. You'd be okay. You could, Diego, you could hang out in your lovely home in Esberg. I don't know where you live, and you'd get quite a view. You're out of harm's way. You'd get quite a view. I'm sure you'd get some like heavy waves and stuff, but I think Esbjerg is probably all right. It'd be quite a show, though. It would still fuck up the whole planet. You know, I'm willing to take that chance. I'm sorry, but I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to take that chance. I live near Copenhagen in a concrete social projects municipality, which all the Chilean refugees somehow ended up in. That sounds kind of nice. I would like to come visit you there someday, Diego. Oh, you're good. You're totally sheltered over there. Anyway, that's what I think about that 15-minute city diatribe that we heard before. It was kind of dark. It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. I'm not, in case you're watching this, I'm not actually advocating for the brutal deaths of 36 million people. Okay, I'm not. I do in fact think that would be bad. Just in case we're not clear on that. This is all just a hypothetical thought experiment. And that's all. If you did, you'd be a Stalinist. That's right. That's absolutely correct, and which we all know is not true. Fantasizing about destroying an entire country with an asteroid, typical socialist. So much for the tolerant left. So much for the tolerant left. So I guess what we should probably do now is, should we get into the LaRouche stuff again? Part 2 of our LaRouche research? What do you think about that? I still haven't even sniffed the front page since the incident. Since the incident. I still hope we get another chance. I hope one day to get another chance, and I will prove myself. I'm not really availing myself too well right now, as I'm engaging in this kind of protracted fantasy about an asteroid wiping the UK off the face of the planet, but Part 2 of virulent, anti-Semitic, anti-communist Lyndon LaRouche. And there's a tie-in, right, with these 15-minute city types, because it's like these are the exact people that these LaRoucheites are telling us are supposed to be our allies, right? They tell us they're supposed to be our allies. There's a little red triangle on your file when you hover your mouse over it. It just says Stalin Enjoyer. Unbelievable. The level of persecution that I experience on this website is just very, very unfortunate. And yeah, Ghost, this is so... This is just so unpleasant. What a deeply unpleasant looking man, this. Jesus. I've just learned that I've been targeted by a dangerous socialist Stalin-supporting Twitch streamer, Rob Rousseau. I looked into this sick individual and I found this. This deranged fantasy about the total destruction of the entirety of the UK. This man is just terrified of 15-minute cities. I mean, wiping the UK off the map with the giant comet would, in fact, eliminate the need for any 15-minute cities. Hey everyone, I just reduced my cable, saving $300 for the next 12 months, plus increasing my internet speeds. Huge feat for me. Retention sucks. There we go, Weenus. Big win for our friend Weenus. What is on his head? I don't know. He's got that, like, unkempt... And listen, I'm not going to criticize people for looking unkempt. I mean, like, look at me. But still, it's like, sir, you're on the news. You're in the news media. Fucking comb your hair. What is this? They're more afraid of 15-minute cities than a meteor. It's true. It is true. Okay, so let's find... Oh, good. I got it right where I left off. Let's do part 2 of our deep dive into Lyndon LaRouche and the LaRoucheites so we can understand what these people are all about. It's been, I think, deeply informative. And once again, what we're listening to is the episode of Revolutionary Left Radio, the deep dive they did on this subject. I'm going to throw that in the chat just to make sure that we're giving them the props for doing this. It does have Door 24 energy. Yes, it does. So let's continue our deep dive into the LaRoucheite cult. I don't hear anything. One moment. I refresh my page here.
Insane, basically, okay. Like, their newspaper would carry headlines such as CP turns rebels into N-words. They would come up with these, like, demeaning nicknames like Ron, Race Riot, Tyson. And, they end up going into this kind of, like, anti-black, stuff.
Again, sounds totally familiar for the same people that they're crusading against wokeness, but from the left, right? And the reason we're talking about this, if you missed our first part of this deep dive that we did yesterday, I think it's important to understand, like, who LaRouche was and what the LaRoucheites are about, because it clarifies a lot of these things. These MAGA communists or patriotic socialists, the people that were engaging in that kind of anti-war rally over the weekend, advocating, like, working with libertarians and the far right. And the thing about LaRouche is what his modern day followers are carrying on is using the language of Marxism when it comes to certain issues, but to lead people in this very conservative and reactionary direction. And we need to understand when people are doing that and what their goals are and what their aims are. I know Famous Horse knows a lot about it too. I would like to get Horse on to talk about this, but he's also not always available at the same time that I'm doing this stream. But I think one day it would be good to do that as well. But that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about fascists. We mentioned yesterday they made reference to Mussolini and like how all fascist movements do incorporate the language of Marxism. They incorporate the language of socialism. You saw that obviously in Italy. You saw it obviously in Germany with the Nazis, the National Socialist Workers' Party, using this kind of like Marxist or socialist language, but to engage in this reactionary and ultimately anti-communist project. That's why we can't allow ourselves to be tricked by these people, even when they say things sometimes that we might ostensibly agree with. We have to understand like why they're using that language and the kind of project that they're trying to build. And like we were saying yesterday, you can in fact have two thoughts in your head at the same time, such as we should, yes, support trans rights. Yes, we should support social justice and racial justice, while also being Marxist and also supporting socialist revolution. You can in fact hold these two ideas in your mind at the same time, despite what these LaRouchites say, which is that you can only support one of these things. Not the case. Also what liberals try and tell you. But as we know, it's not true.
And but at the same time, they're recruiting young black people to their revolutionary youth movement. And so they're kind of able to like say, oh, but we're not actually racist because, we're working with black youth in the ghetto. But a lot of these people that they recruited didn't end up staying. They didn't end up staying around because they were basically just like treated as like shock troops by the, like mostly white, like intellectual leadership. But they did get some people to stay, and they also worked in like these anti-busing campaigns. But in the end, like I think a lot of this anti-black racism was actually a test run for the anti-Semitism that they would indulge in. And they were actually able to like get, like they were like a 1/4 Jewish organization. They had a lot of Jewish people in the organization, but they were able to kind of reinvent anti-Semitism in a way that would like make it so that they could get their Jewish members to like spew anti-Semitic propaganda, giving them like a kind of plausible deniability, right? And this is like in this period, they're also like, they're basically saying that the Communist Party and like left liberals are going to like team up with the Rockefellers to unleash this dictatorship, this fascist dictatorship.
More like LaDouche.
So they need to form a popular front, basically with the right, like the far right, in order to fight fascism. It's kind of like what you see with some of these like patriotic socialist types who think that like Marxists need to form an alliance with MAGA to fight the true fascist Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's basically this idea.
This is kind of the point of that anti-war rally.
The liberals are the real
this
fascists,
weekend.
And the far right reactionaries are actually the anti-fascist, which is how you get this like everything up is down, down is up type worldview, where you can kind of just like create this whole intricate ideology where you'll get people to just believe absolute absurdities because within the context of this ideological system, it all makes sense. So in 1975, the NCLC starts reaching out to the KKK, and they believe that Rockefeller is planning a fascist takeover using the liberals and the New Left, and the KKK.
And again, using the elements of truth as well, right? Using the elements of truth about the business plot.
And
to spin it into this deranged conspiracy.
Alliance, but in the end, like it's just a total ideological shift to the far right. So, and there's another guy, Willis Carto, who was part of what's called the Liberty Lobby. And Willis Carto was a disciple of Francis Parker Yockey, who was kind of like one of the first big like post-war fascist figures. So this guy Willis Carto starts working with the LaRouchians, and that kind of puts them even further into the pure far right sphere. LaRouche starts romancing his future wife Helga Zepp, who is now basically the leader of his organization as it exists today. She's like a German woman. And when she gets involved, like apparently the group really starts taking like a strong nationalist turn. They just completely abandon like discussion of Marxism and frame everything around like good American patriots versus the financial oligarchy.
You said in your article they even dropped the term comrades and started using the term patriots to refer to each other.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's just like you see all these like people trying to like reinvent Marxism as like American patriotism today, and it's just like, are they just like doing LaRoucheism? Like,
Yeah. It's going to lead to the same place, the dustbin of history.
Right. It's going to lead nowhere, but like you're going to look really dumb while you try it,
And so, exactly, the question is, to what extent was LaRouche and his organization embraced by the right? Was it just embraced by a few elements of the fringe far right, or was there ever any more absorption into a mainstream or even maybe a little right of mainstream movement? Or did they kind of isolate themselves from both the right and the Marxist left?
Yeah, so basically, it's they started getting in bed with the Reagan administration later on, basically.
Okay.
And so I think you could say that in the 80s they did have some success in courting the mainstream right.
Okay.
And they actually tried to do entryism in the Democratic Party in the 80s. And in Illinois they actually had some minor success that kind of created like a whole crisis in the Democratic Party in Illinois, which is pretty there's a pretty detailed exploration of their adventures in the Democratic Party in the Dennis King book. But
they ran within it to destroy it or to move it to the right, or what was their ultimate goal?
I'm not, I think it might have been the kind of be useful idiots for the Reagan administration in a way. Like I think it was I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to do with the Democratic Party, but they were using it to get more of a public profile.
Because even to this day, LaRouche's Wikipedia profile, it has him like political affiliation, the Democratic Party, and it just
he
weird.
kind of like did this whole thing like we're gonna like organize conservative Democrats,
I see.
So there's that, and it's really like in this like period in like the mid to late 70s too, when he first starts out like reaching out to military officers and sending like communiques to them, basically saying that the Carter administration is going to destroy the Constitution.
Hello,
so
Rudy
we should do a
Prospero.
military coup, basically. Like it's very bold, like I'm just gonna like reach out to a bunch of military guys and tell them to do a coup for me.
It's wild.
And that obviously didn't work, but it does start this tradition of forming relationships with intelligence agencies. Which we'll get into more.
Relationships with intelligence
And
agencies,
it's also, you see
say.
a change in the ideology completely. Like Marxism is less and less an actual thing that they even talk about. And now
Look at the trajectory of a Jackson Hinkle for the example of this phenomenon.
There's this thing he writes, Secrets Known Only to the Inner Elites. It's basically this pamphlet where he basically like portrays history as this battle between two tendencies, an oligarchical tendency that follows from Aristotle and the humanist tendency that follows Plato. And so now like all history, instead of class struggle, is a struggle between followers of Aristotle versus followers of Plato.
Yeah.
And it really, this theory ends up working wonderfully for LaRouche because he can always say that like ex-government
Conrad Pesci,
intelligence
I'm timing you out. You're getting timed out.
Self-split between the humanists and the oligarchs. And so you can
You're getting
kind of
timed
like
out
use
for being
this
weird.
ideology to like justify anything because anything could be like part of this secret conspiracy, right?
So it was a Plato versus Aristotelian dissection of the world.
This is a drama-free. This is a drama-free zone
Platonists against the Aristotelian whatever, and they kind of shove everything from environmentalism to drug use to anything else into the Aristotelian world order or whatever.
Yeah. It's like because like the main enemy is the Queen of England, and so for it really comes down to the Anglos for LaRouche. Like there was a lot of like anti-Semitism.
The Queen, yeah.
But like
so we were seeing that thing talking about they were talking about China, but how China's pushing back against like the city of London or whatever. They're obsessed with the Queen and the UK.
Reinvented anti-Semitism where the Anglos take the place of the Jews, basically. So it kind of like creates this like structure of a theory where like you have all the tropes of anti-Semitism. There's like a shadowy oligarchy that's controlling the banks and everything, but it's really the Anglos And there actually is a history, I guess, of anti-Semites using a British connection with the Jews as a kind of trope.
Strange, yeah.
But the way it works is essentially you get all the conspiracy theory paranoia of anti-Semitism, but
it's amazing too the
anti-Semitism
mental leaps that these anti-Semites go through as well, where it's like Jews are a secret shadowy cabal behind capitalism controlling the banks, but they're also the secret shadowy cabal behind communism, the whole Judeo-Bolshevik conspiracy. What I guess you got to give credit to the Jews. Actually, they're playing both sides, so they come out on top. If that's the case, if the kind of deranged conspiracy world that these people believe in is true, that's essentially it. They're behind everything. They're behind all sides.
LaRouche to mainstream.
I'm going to move on before anyone gets any ideas about clipping out of context any of that comment.
And when actually it makes me remind when Jackson Hinkle's dumbass tweet recently about I'm uniting Marxist and MAGA, and if you're not on this train, you're going to become irrelevant or whatever. What did he say? He
dumbass.
said I'm uniting the Marxist and the MAGA against the globalists.
No, you're not, Jackson. You're not doing shit. This guy's not doing anything. What's he doing? Tweeting? Trying to pivot to manosphere content on the internet? What are you doing? You're not organizing anything. He's not going into these communities and actually talking to any of these MAGA people. He's literally just doing streams and podcasting and accepting spots on Blaze TV. That's right. Yeah, and doing shirtless pose downs on Instagram. Good job. You're uniting MAGA and Marxism. No, you're not. You're not doing shit. I like to talk about this shit on live streams as well, but I don't go out there and pretend that I'm some fucking socialist organizer or anything. I'm most certainly not that, nor would I ever claim to be. It's just so silly. He's starting to look like Scaramucci. He is the most 45 looking 25-year-old. It's so funny too because he's got his start. That guy Jackson Hinkle got his start with the Parkland kids, the March for Our Lives. He was in the youth training group for the March for Our Lives movement, and then became a Bernie bro, and then became an anti-imperialist communist, doing entryism in the Communist Party. He's 21, Jesus Christ, and is now pivoting to doing this whatever it is, just speaking at these rallies and doing manosphere content. He doesn't even, and it's exactly like the LaRouche cult, just mentioning, leftism or Marxism less and less as time goes on. If MAGA has one ideological stand, it is dismissing socialism. I'm not going to merge MAGA with Marxism. This is the thing when it comes to the trucking convoy, when it comes to a lot of these people, they're deeply anti-communist, and they want us to merge with these anti-communist movements. They're anti-communist communists, of course. It's almost like a socialism, but more of a national kind of a vibe. It's kind of more that, It's not communism, but it's more of a national, a nationalistic sort of thing. Has anyone tried that synthesis? That could be an interesting experiment that these guys are working on. Let's hope he finds his way out of this crap only young. But he's clearly someone who is just going where the money is. So, it's not striking me as someone that's motivated by actually genuinely held political beliefs, but more about where the possibilities of brand building is the strongest. Kind of like a national socialism. That's right. Yeah, when they tried to go on Truth Social. That's right.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Yo.
Famous horse. Thank you very much for the 9 months of Tier 1, Famous Horse. We're talking about the LaRouchites. Horse has been summoned. That's right. I heard someone needs to be called a LaRouchite. That's true. Apparently, someone was very sensitive about this. We're just listening to this Revolutionary Left Radio LaRouche deep dive. in the wake of this like anti-war protest that went on. But just talking about brand building, and this is, you know, I don't want to make this about me or whatever, but one reason that I think people should maybe trust me is because like I basically built a brand online as like a Bernie Sanders guy. And like, I think I probably could have continued that trajectory if I had stayed on that, like just being always tweeting about like Bernie and the squad and that kind of political poster. And, you know, probably could have continued to build a brand and maybe had even more of a voice and even more of a platform. But I got more interested in this kind of stuff and less interested in trying to enact this kind of like entryist social democracy project in the United States or Canada. And I've gotten to where there's like, you know, my views are completely marginalized and I never have any hope of like being able to have a mainstream voice because of the kind of things that I advocate for. So that's one reason that I think you should trust me, folks, because I literally have not gone where the brand building opportunities are the strongest. I've literally gone to where it's the most difficult. I've gone to the most difficult route when it comes to brand building and developing online platforms. The Marxist ML sympathizer route, which is, of course, famously very lucrative and very has a lot of sway in sort of our mainstream culture. Anyway, it wasn't Dr. Magda. It wasn't a chud. I think it seemed like someone that we had heard from before that seemed okay, but got really offended by the idea of the whole LaRouche thing, and then I think called famous horse, a lib, a Twitter lib. Which I guess is saying he calls everyone LaRoucheites, but if you're worried about that, there's a good chance that you are indeed a LaRoucheite yourself. I was going to warn about him. Okay, it was a new community member as well. He used to actively try to undermine me in chat. He got very mad I used Twitter on stream. Well, Horse, I would like to have you on sometime to actually talk about this because I'm in the middle of this episode. I'd like to continue listening to this like deep dive from the Revolutionary Left Radio, but it's something that I would be happy to talk to you about sometime if you're interested in it. More like LaDouche. There we go. He definitely got called a LaRoucheite and is mad about it. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
There's already this capitulation to right-wing rhetoric and the notion of globalist, which from a Marxist perspective is a mystification of, you know, imperialist, capitalist, whatever, but it opens the door to that anti-Semitic conspiratorialism.
Right. It's just like the whole idea about like the problem in the world is that the shadowy elite like controls the banks. Yeah. You know,
and like
when has that ever led anywhere good? Right. You know.
I should point out, because like I put out that TikTok the other day when people were freaking out about aliens, and I was like, our world is not controlled by interdimensional shape-shifting beings, but it's controlled by capitalists. And this is the kind of whole thing with this kind of anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Like, I don't think it is a conspiracy to suggest that the world and the global financial system is controlled by a shadowy cabal. Of course it is. But it's not the Jews. It's not any one ethnic group or any one people. It's a number of different people from a variety of different backgrounds that all have the same class interests. Like our friend, like George Carlin points out in that classic clip from Politically Incorrect, they've all got the same class interests. They all go to the same private schools. They're in part of the same weird secret societies, and they know how to keep the machine moving, and they know how to keep themselves on top. Like, it's not that much of even a conspiracy. Parenti does an incredible bit on this topic. You know, for sure, the whole idea about the shadowy rooms. They don't meet in rooms. It's like, yeah, where else? Well, of course they meet in rooms. Like, where else would they meet? But you see where the anti-Semites and the conspiracy theorists like get off the track, and they take the basic truth about the reality of the power structures that we live under, and then take it into this racist and fucked up conspiratorial direction. You know, but it's not the Jews that control the economy or the banks or the media. It's capitalists, and capitalists come from a variety of different backgrounds and a variety of different places. And they just share the same class interests, and they keep themselves on top of the pile no matter what. The anti-Semites aren't even against the idea of a shadowy cabal running things. They want to be that cabal. They want in. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Like I was saying, they claim that the Jews are controlling global capitalism and controlling the media, and they also claim that the Jews are controlling socialism as well, and invented socialism. They literally just point to the Jews for every imagined boogeyman that they have, which is a preposterous way to look at any of these things. Yeah, the whole Great Reset thing is internal squabbles amongst capitalists. That's right. Anyway, strange people.
And it's just not a materialist explanation, So someone like LaRouche, who prided himself on being a Marxist economist who developed a theory of how capitalism works and everything. He had a book called Dialectical Economics. I actually did try to read it a few years ago. It was just way too into esoteric German idealist stuff for me to understand at the point.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's he makes a name as this Marxist theorist, and then he just totally embraces a bunch of nonsense. And instead of Marxism, he kind of takes up this corporatist program where instead of labor versus capital, it's industrial capital needs to ally with the labor unions under the leadership of the NCLC elite to basically enforce a dictatorship against finance capital and any kind of
Comrade
political
Pesci
opposition.
is a wild
And they call
one.
it Hamiltonian
He's on one
economics.
today.
Alexander Hamilton becomes the big great economic thinker that LaRouche thinks America needs to go back to. And so he kind of argues for this really state heavy centric kind of state capitalist corporatist model that would put the country into this state of total mobilization for war with Britain, which is supposedly the home of the global Zionist financial oligarchy. And then the Soviet Union is next. It's actually
this is what I was saying.
It's funny, this guy Dennis King quotes a LaRouche pamphlet from back then that says that Hitler's mistake was going after the Soviet Union instead of Britain first. And so, the LaRoucheites are going to do it right, even though they're anti-Nazi or whatever, but they're going to do it right and go after the British first.
And see, listen, sometimes they get it right. That's the whole thing about the LaRoucheites is separating the good things that they sometimes advocate for, the correct things that they say, and before they lead people down that path of reaction. But getting rid of the city of Britain, getting rid of the UK is something we already explored on this program. It would not be the end of the world, I don't think. Yeah, the British Crown is behind the green agenda. That's always the giveaway. Which is, again, amazing. Ahistorical, and ignores the reality of where imperialism is coming from and where economic imperialism is coming from. It's not coming from London. But folks, it's 2 p.m. here. Been live almost 2 hours. And I would just like to remind people to also the City of London, which is not London. The City of London is a special economic district in London. Okay, that makes sense. It's such a weird reference. I must remind people, though, that if you do enjoy this community and you want to support it, please subscribe to the channel. Please join the community. Help me make the number go up. Help me keep this content on the air. Unlike the LaRoucheites, the TRRS Friendship Triangle community is not a cult, and it's not nefarious. And in case you were wondering what the community is about, I did prepare this little video presentation. So please just relax for a few minutes, watch this little video, and if you can, support the channel and join the Friendship Triangle community. Of course, I don't think you've seen this yet. This is important, okay? This is important stuff.
Thank you for expressing interest in the Friendship Triangle community. We would be thrilled to have you on board as a member of our exclusive platform. As you may know, the friendship triangle is Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, friendship access and trickle-down cloud, tiered reward system. Today you have an amazing opportunity to join the base level of the friendship triangle system. Once you are part of the community, you'll have the ability to rise through the ranks and achieve higher levels of access and rewards. One way to do this is by gifting subscriptions to your fellow members or by inviting your friends and family members to join our community. As you ascend the tiers, you will be exposed to a range of new and exciting benefits, such as exclusive content, advanced features, and access to our elite community members. We are confident that you will enjoy all the perks that come with being part of the Friendship Triangle. However, we also want to remind you that not all friends and family members are to be trusted, especially those who may not support your new lifestyle. That's why we encourage you to focus on building meaningful relationships within our community, where you will find like-minded individuals who share your interests and values. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are always here to support our members and ensure that your experience with the Friendship Triangle is enjoyable. We're glad that you are considering joining the Friendship Triangle community. We look forward to seeing you rise through the Chaos Zone and all the way into the Elite tier. It's not a cult.
So please, if you're watching, if you're a new viewer, a lurker, or if you're someone that wants to take advantage of this exciting opportunity, please subscribe to the channel. It helps support the work that I do here on twitch.tv.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the gifted sub to Wilco. The LaRouchites. But I'm drawing a contrast. You know, the LaRouchites are like a creepy cult, which obviously, as was indicated by the video there that I just showed, is not the case with this community. It's just not, that's not true. So, not something that anyone has to worry about.
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob.
Oh, thank you,
to,
Horse.
talk you through all this.
Thank you for the gifted sub, Horse. I appreciate it. You have to come on again. I'd be happy to. Who are the LaRouchites? Okay, fine. I'm going to turn it off. Okay? Jesus. Where is it? I can't even find it. There. See? No connection whatsoever. It was just a short commercial break. A two-dimensional friendship triangle. That's right.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Lennon Smash, thank you for the gifted sub as well. I really appreciate the support, Lennon Smash. Build the land triangle. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I hope the LaRouche deep dive they're doing is going to get into that land bridge stuff, because I think that's a big key to all this. I don't totally get what it's about, and maybe they're going to get into that. I'll just wait a couple more minutes. I'll wait a couple more minutes for the subs to roll in. I know that probably there's people that are just so mesmerized by the quality of that video presentation that I took time and effort to produce, that you're still overcoming the kind of hypnotic effect that it has. They claim to have given China the idea for the Belt and Road. Okay, because it's weird, because I've seen stuff, and Horse, maybe this is something you can speak to as well. Like, I've seen stuff from the LaRouchites that are kind of praising China and praising Belt and Road and talking about the Chinese economy, but what's their angle on that? That's my question. Joke is beyond your control now. To all of chat, TRRS now stands for the Rob Rousseau Secularists. Yeah, didn't they invest in CGTN? Yeah, that's right. And ingratiating themselves with China. Someone else came up with a good acronym yesterday as well. It was like the Rob Reward System. That's it. The Rob Reward System. I tried watching the 2022 movie Triangle of Sadness last night, 40 minutes and not one mention of the fall of the hot dog. Buy it or Gina. I turned it off. Good. I went to a Cow Collective event and met a LaRouche. Their big thing was that we came up with the Belt and Road Initiative in the 70s. Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll move on. I'm going to move on from this. Hopefully we can make the number go up a little bit higher before the end of the day. They came up with trade. That's right. Good for them.
Union, you said?
And then the Soviet Union, like they literally have like writings where they were talking about how they needed to like basically like use microwave radiation guns to destroy the Soviet Union and then rebuild it. Like,
so it's very interesting how this sort of zombie Trotskyism can develop into this Cold Warrior neoconservative.
Right. It's like the Shachtmanites almost. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Hardcore Trotskyites.
And
Alex Jones is onto something with that.
So it's total shift to the right.
Yeah, now they want to do the same thing with China.
Just completely,
that's right.
Like embracing, this idea of uniting industrial and financial capital, which is kind of like against industrial capital and labor against financial capital, and this idea that like it's just finance capital that's the problem. It becomes like super anti-environmentalist. Environmentalists just want to like prevent the like full unimpeded growth of the productive forces. And it's interesting because like, you know, it's the 1970s, right? And there's kind of like this deindustrialization of America going on. You have factories going overseas. So I think like, you know, LaRouche did kind of have his like finger on the pulse, and he did kind of see what was happening economically, you know, and I could think maybe like this was like his response to like the deindustrialization of the country was like, well, now Marxism isn't going to work anymore because the industrial working class is getting gutted. So what we need to do is like unite with the industrial capitalists and reindustrialize the country.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of where they are ideologically by the 80s, which is when they start forming a...
Is that why they do an anti-war rally to shift popular opinion from Russia and war with China? I mean, it seems to be definitely part of the people that I think can be qualified as being part of this tradition. That's definitely what a lot of these folks want. Like that's what the Tucker Carlsons of the world, I think, want, which is to instead, rather than taking on Russia and China simultaneously, they want to split up that alliance and work with the Russians to defeat China. I think there's various levels within this kind of like sect that believe different things about this, because I've seen LaRoucheites praising China, and then maybe that's what's behind that. It's kind of hard to say. They really should quit having anything to do with the Schiller Institute. It is a pretty bad look. And it's a different entity from CGTN English. I absolutely despise anyone who acts like only industrial workers are worth a damn. It's all workers. Well, that's the same thing we talked about, Lenin Smash, right? With the trucker convoy and everything, right? Who counts as a worker and who doesn't? The they, them, blue-haired Starbucks barista, not a worker, but white steel workers or these like disenfranchised white reactionary communities, they're the people that qualify as workers that we need to appeal to. And when we embrace wokeness, when we embrace social justice or racial justice, well, it alienates those people. That's why we can never do those things.
Of the Reagan administration.
So let's pause right there just to catch everybody kind of up. And I'm just kind of sketching out the chronology of the shift here. So starting as this sect from a Trotskyist party, we talked about going beyond Trotsky, etc. And then there's this mop-up campaign. So it goes from a ostensibly left-wing Marxist organization to one that is directly hostile to the CPUSA, but anybody else also on the new left or anybody they perceive as enemies. So first and foremost, the shift is finding enemies on the left and attacking them, often physically. Then there's a shift towards a doubling down or a getting into the cultism with the Chris White affair. So you see a movement towards
the
Reckerism,
Revolutionary Left Radio
towards
episode
occultism within the party,
this.
And then there is the explicit right-wing shift. Is that a chronologically accurate way to describe this?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like as I said,
Hello,
like you can kind of see the
Houston.
beginnings of the right-wing shift with the Ocean Hill-Brownsville stuff.
Sure.
But it's like this intensifies as it goes on, basically.
Okay. And now we're in the 80s with the Reagan administration.
Yes. So basically, LaRouche's plan is to try to forge an alliance with the Reagan admin And in 1974, they had founded this thing called the Fusion Energy Foundation, and like that's one of the things that LaRouche people are like famous for today is like their advocacy of nuclear fusion. Like one of their big things is like promoting a crash course, like Manhattan Project type thing to develop fusion energy. And, like, I'm not gonna lie, fusion energy, if we could get it to work, like, that would be pretty cool.
Totally.
But it becomes like this way for them to actually recruit scientists, because they go to airports and table there and stuff, and they would like pose as just like, oh, we're just advocates of fusion energy trying to like promote this stuff. And we were able to recruit a bunch of scientists and stuff get involved in this fusion energy promotion stuff. And then what ends
We're in
up
the
happening
freaking Matrix.
is that becomes a way for them to recruit allies to Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars. Because basically a lot of these
this is crazy. The stuff about supporting the Star Wars program in the 80s.
For the Reagan administration with the whole Star Wars thing, which is basically like, the whole idea is to like basically build like, laser beams in space that will make it so that it's impossible for the Soviet Union to do a first strike of nuclear weapons. And, so it's basically
they're going to come out hard in favor of Space Force.
Energy, actually,
that's right. The real workers, the Space Force soldiers,
who then are able to get connections,
the real troops we got to respect,
with the Reagan administration. And so the LaRouche movement becomes like really big promoters of the Strategic Defense Initiative in Star Wars. And
hello, Eric. What's up?
They basically just become complete shills for the United States military-industrial complex.
So that, and you can even go online and look at videos of them, and their main sort of approach, especially around this time, is obviously, as you said, to be in airports. So they'd go to in airports and they have their documents and everything, but they'd also dress, as we talked about earlier, respectably, quote unquote, right, in a tie with some nice slacks,
right,
tucked in shirt, looking very business professional-esque.
Right, exactly. They were able to like put on a public face of seriousness. So, like, people would work with them. They would say, oh, they have a lot of kooky views, but they are serious about getting funding for nuclear fusion energy and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, they're able to use that as a kind of, and they're actually, they would like campaign on behalf of ex-Nazi scientists who were brought in for Operation Paperclip and like basically clean up their public image so that they could continue working in the State Department and stuff, which is pretty interesting. But, And then next came the, like I was saying before, like they were also working in the Democratic Party, but it's clear as an organization they're making overtures towards Reagan as LaRouche's personal favorite guy. Like he wasn't like a fan of the Republican Party as such, but he like saw a lot of potential in Reagan. And so, they didn't really have a ton of electoral success. They had some minor successes, but really what they kind of did was like cause confusion and discord in the Democratic
That's right. I've been on Big Shiny Takes. It was a blast.
Which, was kind of to the delight of like the right wing of the labor movement.
Two of the foremost think tanks in this country.
Because at this time,
the Big Shiny Takes Institute and the Rousseau Institute for Western Destabilization. Two of the foremost think tanks in this entire country. That's the kind of power that's available in this chat right now, the power levels.
Making connections with the Teamsters.
I'm glad you enjoyed the hoodie so much, London Smash. That's cool.
Were, like connected with the mob, like people like Jackie Presser, and so he was basically working with the Teamsters leadership, and they had you had like reform efforts.
I really do, unironically, 100% seriously want to do like a think tank event in Ottawa. I really, really do want to do this, and trying to start getting invited on like media to weigh in on things. We make powerful ideas at our think tanks. We do. Yes, we do. I absolutely want to do this. Maybe that's something in the summer we can try and figure out. Maybe we should, Eric, maybe we should just set a time to hold a fucking event in Ottawa. Some kind of like media or some seminar or whatever. Just pinpoint a date and we'll just fucking do it. Launch the event at the Victims of Communism Memorial. That would actually be great timing if it was coincided with that. Just a day, like a little conference, rent out a hotel, lobby or whatever, conference room or whatever, have some speakers. Get some media there, get some press there. Look at what are these wacky guys doing? What are these wacky characters doing? Trying to destabilize the West. What's this all about? We can write it off. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. We'd have to produce a white paper. Yeah, we could do that. Chat GPT could give us something in no time. Maybe we could actually even write something as well. I can't enter Canada legally. Oh, no. That's no good. Would love to attend our WID conference. We'll do it. We're going to do it one of these days, okay? We'll do it.
And Teamsters to democratize the union, like Teamsters for Democratic Union. Basically, the LaRouche people like worked with the Teamsters mobbed up leadership to basically discredit these reform movements and try to shut them down, to basically keep the mob in control. All the while they're like talking about how we have to end the drug trade, and the drug trade is controlled by the British, and we're going to do the war on drugs, but do it right this time.
Imagine being so terrified of the fucking British.
You have
your main antagonist.
The Teamsters are working in the Democratic Party. They're doing the fusion energy stuff. And they even had like press passes into the White House.
Why should it be in Moncton or Saskatoon, Eric?
So they are able to kind of make overtures to people who do have power and do have influence. And, you know, the anti-Semitism is getting worse. You know, they do mostly keep it like internally. But it's really like just insane homophobia becomes a big thing. Like in the 1980s, there was the whole thing about AIDS, right?
Yeah.
And there were like a lot of like conservatives who were like basically panicking about AIDS. So LaRouche in California had they had this campaign called Proposition 64 that was basically
the British don't move weight like the fucking CIA.
To put AIDS.
That's why these people are linked to the CIA. They're trying to divert attention from the actual controlling authoritarian powers.
There's like some really disturbing stuff. Like there's one point where they say that like random mobs who like beat up gay people are like, you know, acting rationally and stuff, and just really bad stuff. And you know, they go after Henry Kissinger and Roy Cohn. Obviously Henry Kissinger is terrible and stuff, but like the way he acts as LaRouche is kind of like the ultimate symbolic Jew and homosexual, basically.
Yeah.
And they have these huge like public harassment campaigns that really just get really psychotic.
I think they got Kissinger in the airport once with his wife or something and accused him of being a pedophile.
Yes. Yeah. That is like one of the things they're most famous for. And it's like, you know, obviously we hate Kissinger. He's a terrible guy.
Let them cook.
They're also working with Reagan administration spooks, you know? Yeah. So it's not principled at all.
Exactly. Like your object of the hate is right, but the reason you hate him is completely fucking off. You see that with the MAGA right today. Like sometimes they'll be like, you know, like fuck the FBI, and you're like, okay, tell me more. It's because they raided Trump's house and he should deserve the second term. It's like, oh god, there's a million reasons to hate the FBI, but those are none of them.
Exactly. It's totally like that. I guess this would be like a good place to kind of talk about like the actual connections that they made with intelligence agencies.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, they start reaching out to the CIA in 1976. They had, I talked about how they reached out to like military generals and stuff, but they start developing actual ties to CIA. You know, some of the big ones are Admiral
we'll do
Bobby
the think tank on a boat in international waters.
CIA deputy director from
to make it even more cult-like.
And received
as a joke.
Gold information from Lyndon and Helga Zepp. Dr. Norman Bailey, senior national security counsel, who told NBC that LaRouche had, quote, one of the best private intelligence services in the world, unquote. General Daniel Garam, who claimed that the LaRouchians provided sensitive information on Angola and Mozambique. And so basically, like, what you have here is, you know, LaRouche people would like have these. They had a big main office in New York City. I think they moved it to Virginia later on, and they would just have like people working in there up to like 16 hours a day, like, you know, doing research, making phone calls, doing fundraising, and, you know, doing a lot of like intelligence, you know, gathering stuff. And like they would do the fund the operation is like they had all kinds of like basically scams, which is what would eventually get LaRouche in prison. Like they would do wire scams, credit card scams. They would like defraud like old elderly people of their life savings and transfer them entirely to the LaRouche organization.
Have you got the horny Soviet robot game? I've heard about it. I haven't got it though. No.
Intelligence gathing, and it's a
I
cult.
did a gaming stream earlier, and I heard about this horny Soviet
work
robot
their
game.
ass off longer than anyone else would.
Mm-hmm.
So they do get like an actual operation going, and there's some of the main people who actually like got them involved in the CIA are really crazy. There was this one guy, Mitchell Livingston Werebel III, a CIA contract agent and weapons manufacturer. And he's basically as sus as it gets.
How horny
he
are we
literally
talking?
worked for Batista as a security consultant, hatched a plot to invade Haiti. He is famous for developing a machine gun silencer that was a big hit with drug traffickers. He teamed up with the Libertarian Party and a bunch of mercenaries to invade the island of Abaco and set up a libertarian microstate, which failed, of course. Ran a counterterrorism training school, worked for Coca-Cola in Argentina to take care of threats, and all kinds of stuff like that. Like he's your ultimate like
the fuck
sketchy like mercenary CIA guy, basically.
Yeah.
He was like, because the CIA, they like to work with organized crime to do all their dirty work.
100%. Yeah.
And he's totally the kind of guy who had those connects with the CIA. And so he was a trainer. He would like train the LaRouchians in combat and stuff and help forge these connections with the CIA.
This game does.
This
game does look sick. This looks like a good candidate for a TRRS stream. I'll wait till it goes on sale. Probably. I love that Soviet futurist utopian aesthetic, though. That's just a way right into my heart immediately, adopting that kind of aesthetic.
Bowser, who they formed connections with. And he was basically had a long career basically being like every racist hate group in the U.S. And at one point, he was even the Grand Dragon of the Pennsylvania Klan. And, within the far right, he kind of developed a reputation as an FBI agent. Because it's like, if someone's been in that many different like hate groups, it's like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
And but he was able to convince LaRouche that he was a genuine patriotic fighter who was basically like hung out to dry by the agencies he was working for. And he probably did have like some legitimate like security state connections, but he actually like fed a lot of false intelligence to the LaRouche people and like a lot of false information because it was kind of an easy job for him.
But also
apparently.
uncomfortably horny.
And
Speak for yourself.
Like found contacts in the KGB as early as 1974.
We got N, the 2026 says, we will go extinct by 2026 because of non-optimal ambient temperatures. I guess if we're going extinct, it is non-optimal. Jeez. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
And so it's complicated because, it's easy to simply say that this group is a CIA op, right? Because usually when you find a group like this and they're super disruptive against the left, and you find these ties to the CIA.
Yeah, they're wreckers.
It's pretty much, this is just a CIA op. But it was really more so that they were trying.
I got a great beverage loadout in my fridge right now.
Agency. And they were trying to cultivate different allies and different intelligence agencies.
Great beverage loadout right now in the fridge.
While they did have connections with the KGB, they definitely leaned towards the CIA.
Do you folks want to see it?
And definitely saw the CIA as like the.
Are you interested, Chad, in seeing the beverage loadout that I got? My fridge is not that exciting. The beverage loadout is solid, though. Okay, hang on a sec. Cola, purple stuff, Sunny D. Hey, your mom's okay. no purple drink slander, Sunny D. Okay, just taking a brief pause. I took a little picture. Just wait for that to upload there. And I'll show you my fridge in just one moment. It'll just take a sec. Got any lemonade? There we go. There we go. Very nice. Okay. So there's the fridge. It's not that exciting. Like, earlier I ate some olives and some like little naan bread dippers with some Asiago and artichoke dip with some olives. Had that earlier. Here's specifically the beverages though. These are all locked and loaded. It's a food safety hazard. Why you're storing your eggs above metal cans you'll drink straight from. But it's on like a glass shelf. It's on a glass shelf in a carton. What is this? What is going on with this? Bit of celery in the crisper. That's not a food safety hazard. We're posting fridges. Eggs above raw meat, but below everything else. Damn. They would lock your ass up if you were a restaurant. God damn well. I also like to live dangerously. Anyway, that's my fridge. That's what's going on. I got these juice boxes. This Oasis juice. It's like the 60% less sugar because it's like juice kind of more mixed with water. It's very good. I gave that to my son, but it's very satisfying if you're thirsty. One of those guys. Sure, not wanting my friend to get sick is being the fridge police. Guilty as charged. Jesus. I've never heard this before in my life. Anyway, that's all. That's my fridge. Let's continue.
Your ally, but they did kind of have this way of trying to act as a conduit almost between different intelligence agencies.
Eggs in the U.S. have been Hitler particles or something.
Oh, so what do you want me to
float
tell the
downward
KGB
onto
guys,
other fridge items? I'm so
KGB
confused.
People, they go tell the CIA guys this.
So confused.
So it essentially acts as a kind of like I said before, a private intelligence agency. And so you could say LaRouche is a CIA op, or LaRouche is a KGB op, but it's like, no, the LaRouche org is itself the op because it is basically a private intelligence agency.
This is the most passionate I've ever seen Marty in the chat.
That is like working with these, very shadowy figures.
I don't have an eggshell fridge, no.
They even like work with the South African government.
Sintel's got a special beverage fridge. Wow.
The apartheid government.
That's fancy.
And they actually do like economic advising for some of these people in the South African apartheid government. That they're going to, they have this whole proposal to use contract labor to do like rapid industrial development, then declared war on Mozambique, which at the time had a Marxist government. And they also did operations with the Guatemalan government that was, engaged in various genocidal operations with death squads and stuff. And so they very much like got involved with some of the ugliest parts of the imperialist world, system, basically.
Yeah. And the whole idea of being ops or being, CIA plants or whatever, the truth seems more something like
I have a fridge in the garage that's 50% homemade refrigerator pickles. That sounds nice.
At a certain point, rather than from the beginning, the
maybe
CIA
we have some pickles. Maybe we have some pickles.
The organization, and we're kind of puppeteering it, right? Like they actually went to the CIA, not the other way around.
You're here flaunting your homemade refrigerator pickles. Can we have some of the pickles? That sounds nice. Are there eggs above the pickles? I keep my eggs in a lead-lined carton downstairs. You can't be too careful with these dangerous items. I would love to share. Great. Okay, good. We'll get in touch with you about that. Just send you just a pickle, like a plain envelope. So you can get it in the mail. It's all wet. Ugh. Big fan of pickles, though.
Right. It's a question of why. What was their motive here? Why were they trying to form all these connections with the CIA? I think in one end, it's like, you want power, so you try to suck up the people who do have power. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, Dennis King, who wrote this book, he, argues that it was basically a
soggy pickle,
a scheme to like.
But Marty, why do the eggs have bacteria when it's the shell? Like, it hasn't been cracked open. I'm not storing cracked open egg parts. What is this egg bacteria? Do they just innately have bacteria? The eggs are in a carton and a can is in a carton. Go and lick an eggshell. I will. Like, I don't really feel that would be a very pleasant thing to do, but I don't think anything bad would happen to me. I don't know. I mean, it's not that I want to do that. I'm not saying that it's great. I just don't know that anything like terrible would happen to me health-wise if that was the case. That's all. It's not something that I would really want to do. I would like to try and avoid it, actually. Nobody cares about LaRouche. Listen, we need to learn about this shit, but this egg business is just like, this egg controversy is just impossible not to discuss. Some of our eggs have the little stamp. It is egg extraordinary even. No, we're still doing it. I'm still making it through this. There's only like, there's how much of this is left? We're like over 75% of the way through this episode, so I would like to finish it. Just arrived for Cloaca Discourse. That's right. Fart Party 69 is the ideal topic. Picking my eggs by licking one from each carton. You just get the vibe. The fact that you aren't drinking domestic national PC brand Diet Cola is far more egregious. I just got to get the real shit. I got to get the real stuff. Cloaca. Okay. Okay. Man, controversial. Very controversial.
Friends of people in the CIA, and they figured that if they had enough friends within the CIA and FBI and stuff, they wouldn't be able to get in trouble for all the racketeering they were doing.
I see.
And so make friends of spooks and stay out of jail type strategy. Yeah. So I think it's a bit of both. I think he was genuinely like trying to like form this private intelligence network that he would, be able to use the traffic information and try to like, use this to like maneuver into more powerful.
I'll store my eggs anyway I damn please. There's nothing you can do about it because that's freedom. I'm becoming one of those 15-minute city guys now.
We can do all this like fraud and
this egg discourse
stuff, and basically, stay out of jail.
Yeah, and that sounds in line with the rest of LaRouche's
just
entire
chomping on eggs with the shells. Just because Marty told me not to.
The first explanation as far as wanting to be around power, wanting to have
spitting it all over the place.
Always kind of looking for his next project, his next little scam, his next little thing where he can be at the top and controlling what's going on. And so it's completely in line with his psychology to want to reach out to powerful agencies, get his fingers into various things, and see what he can do with those connections.
Exactly. It's all about an ego trip with him. And it's like, you look at all the crazy twists and turns that the LaRouche movement has made since its foundation, and it doesn't make any sense. There's no consistency. But there is one consistency, which is that, the LaRouche movement needs to get in the power to save humanity from, the ultimate, demise. And only the LaRouche movement is able to do this.
Right.
And that's really the only consistency you find. And it's totally just a cult-like egomania, like you said.
Totally. And I think that's one of the lessons we can draw from all of this, just as an aside, is any person or any organization claiming, especially on the left and just in our sort of terms, claiming to like solely speak for true Marxism, anybody that's propping themselves up as a great man or somebody who understands things at a higher level than anybody else should immediately raise every eyebrow in the room. And we are living in a period where we can see real life left-wing cults emerge, do insane controversial things and dissipate or get destroyed or whatever it may be. Black Hammer and the CPI are two recent examples of this, but it's very fascinating to study the history of left-wing cults before seeing them emerge in our own time, and then seeing them emerge and being able to draw connections between them.
Exactly. We're in 1986, okay. And LaRouche has several offices raided, and
improper egg storage is outlawed, then only outlaws will store eggs improperly. Thank you. Don't trust the guy who hasn't seen Ghostbusters about egg safety when you're throwing up the last 2 days worth of food because your fucking LaCroix was underneath a rotten egg. We'll see what's the last left. I just feel like this scenario is so unlikely. Like this has literally never happened to me. This idea that there's like a rotten egg and that somehow the bacteria is passing through the carton of the egg, passing through the glass door, passing through the carton that the beverages are stored in. It just seems so unlikely to me. I don't even think there's ever been a time. I don't think there's ever been a time when I've like tried to have an egg and it's like, oh, this is rotten. Like usually they're not in the fridge that long. I get the eggs, I make them usually all in a couple days. It's never something that I've been faced with. And why haven't I digested 2 days worth of food? That's a good question. Yeah, this is what I mean, Sinchel. Like, what's this rotten egg problem? Jeez. This is wild shit.
Are issued for credit card fraud and obstruction of justice. There have been like multiple lawsuits
infinitesimal chance egg poisoning.
But they always lawyered up and were able to like defeat them, and through a mix of legal tactics and just like insane harassment campaigns using their cult. But they actually get him for good in 1988. They actually are able to get him in a short trial, and LaRouche ends up going to prison in 1989.
I think Marty, you have restaurant brain still. That's the issue, right? I'm egging Rob's house tonight. Well, what if they're rotten? You're going to want to kill me? It's like biological warfare. You're going to egg my house? What if some of the bacteria gets in? I've got fucking kids, man. They're going to be infected with the egg bacteria and die because of your grudge, your petty grudge. Like, I think it takes a lot longer for food to go bad than that. It's not just like one little car trip, the temperature differential. You know? It's all lawsuit coverage. That's right. You got restaurant safety violation brain. I was kind of tempted to go get an egg and just give it a little lick on camera, but I think that would be too outrageous. Don't open the door too many times. just to really trigger Marty. Just to really trigger Marty if I took a moment to just give it a one little lick. Just go to get an egg and just give it a little lick. What's going to happen? Realistically, what's going to happen? I'm going to be fine. You know? You're telling me I can't just leave the door open while I stand there chugging orange juice out of the carton? They just instantly go rotten. Instantly. You'll just immediately die. That's right. I would trust Marty to cook my food. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope to one day experience that. Microwave them for 15 seconds, making them now in the danger zone. Oh my gosh. And then I'm going to bean you in the back of the head when you least expect it. Oh my goodness gracious. I'll drop the bit. I'm actually extremely anal about expiration dates on food, and it drives my wife nuts. I mean, even the expiration date is just like there's not like a hard and fast date when immediately the food just goes bad out of the specific date. I have some oat milk in the fridge. I think it's like expired like 2 days. Guess what? It still smells fine. And I had a little glass of it today when I had a little cookie as a little treat before the stream started, and it was A-okay. Totally fine. It's just a suggestion. If you smell it and it's like, oh, that smells really bad, then obviously don't eat or drink it. My favorite Kenny Loggins song about egg safety. That's right. On vinegar. The expiration date isn't a factor. My wife agrees with that, but when it comes to cooking, beware. It does. I mean, with meat, it's a little bit different. You don't want to fuck around with that as much. But you can, if it's a day past the expiration date and it doesn't smell bad, it's generally totally okay. I'm glad we're this deep dive, this historical deep dive we're doing is leading to some interesting discourse and discussion. Lahoo? Yeah, there we go. Anyway. Let's continue this important research that we're doing. We've completely derailed into expiration dates being made up, eggs float when they're bad, and how people store things in their fridge. But that's what makes this community special, frankly. That's what makes this community a wonderful thing.
Asian and other related crimes.
It's important discourse.
And he spends like 5 years in prison. Eventually he gets paroled. But what's interesting is like while he's in prison, the LaRouche movement keeps on going. He even like runs for president from prison. But like the group actually tries to form like an alliance with right-wing Catholics while LaRouche is in prison. And apparently, like, they get really into Catholicism and like really into the doctrine, and become like their big thing. And when LaRouche gets out of prison, he's like, wait, like, this is not close enough to like my teachings and what I'm really about. Like, you're getting too interested in this Catholicism stuff, and that's taking away from studying like my teachings and following my ideas. And so there's a big purge of all the Catholics. And LaRouche reasserts his control over his group, and they keep going into what they have become today.
And what have they become today?
All right, well, so LaRouche dies in 2019, as I said, and
at the age of 96. It's insane
yes,
how long
and
these people live.
See, it also has the blue sticker, the blue stamp. Okay? It's enough of this, these shenanigans now. It's myth busting time. It's time to bust this myth. Okay? This is a historic moment on this program. Leave it out for an hour? No, because you weren't talking about leaving it out. You're talking about like an inherently dangerous outer shell area. That's what we were talking about. Hold on, you know what? I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to put on. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to put on. He's just screaming, crying, punching the phone, punching the wall, screaming. See now, Marty, you're moving the goalposts, though. You're moving the goalposts. So you're talking, lick it 10 times, leave it out for an hour, put it in your, like, now you're, like, what you were suggesting is that it's just like some inherently dangerous object. Goalposts on the move yet again. More lib bullshit from Outrun. Unbelievable. Typical woke moralist. That's right. TRRS. Egg lick. Oh my. Oh my. I hope I can get to the sub goal today for rewarding me for this kind of content. I literally just licked an egg. I literally just licked an egg for your amusement. And we can't get above 12 subs. I'm listening to egg chat and MIDI songs while I'm trudging through a snowstorm. Where did my life go wrong? Thank you, Lennon Smash. Thank you. Doesn't count unless you leave it out in the sun for 3 weeks. Okay. I'm putting this away.
Her birthday was actually just recently, the day that Queen Elizabeth died, which is quite hilarious.
And the same age. They both died at 96 too? Wow.
Yeah, it's honestly like just a weird irony of history. I don't know what was going on there, but funny. You know. So yeah, cracks me up thinking that like all the LaRouche people today were like celebrating his birthday and then get the news that the queen is dead. Like I can't imagine like a better feeling that they must have had. Like they must have felt so good.
And it's important just to reiterate for people that might have forgotten how high of a
Sunny Sola. Thank you so much to our friend Sunny Sola for the 5 gifted subs. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very kind of you. $25 channel slubs, an elite member of the Friendship Triangle community. That's right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Position Queen Elizabeth held in LaRouchian conspiracy theories, like the top of the British Empire, a drug peddler. He would make these accusations on mainstream American television that the Queen of England is a drug pusher. So that connection is why it's so.
Yeah, the world's #1 dope dealer. Like he had a whole book called Dope Inc., which is like his big like expose of the international drug trade with Queen Elizabeth at the top.
Right.
And it's like, maybe
there was contact.
To that. Maybe the royal monarchy.
There was contact.
In the drug trade to some extent, but like I highly doubt, it was the extent that they claimed. Because we do know that like the CIA was involved in the drug trade, and that official imperialist power does have involvement in the drug trade. But it's like if everything with LaRouche, but whenever they do kind of put their pulse on something reasonable, it's like just shit coated with so much other nonsense. I just
looked at the clip.
It's like not even really worth dealing with,
And when I saw interviews with him, he would level the accusation of drug peddler against multiple enemies, like anybody that was shitting on him or critiquing him, or whoever was being brought up as somebody who was opposing him. He would consistently the first thing he would come out of his mouth is that person's a drug pusher, or that person's involved with drugs. It's a weird obsession of his.
And like when they were campaigning in like these rural like Midwest places, to win elections, they would always their big campaign promise would be that we're gonna like have the death penalty for dope pushers, and we're gonna clean up the streets and do a real war on drugs.
Duterte style.
And you're seeing a lot of that from the hardcore Trotskyites in the conservative movement as well. We're getting that revived with the whole fentanyl craze panic.
Basically, like it's basically it became very much focused on anti-drug, like anti-counterculture. Like the Beatles were a psyop experiment designed by the Queen of England and the Tavistock Institute to destroy the mind of the youth. So it's very much like trying to appeal to like American conservatives and stuff with this kind of stuff. But nowadays, LaRouche, dies in 2019. And so, but at the time LaRouche had died, they had basically pivoted towards supporting Russia and China. Very interestingly, basically, their big selling point in the 90s, they came up with this idea of the world land bridge.
Here we go.
Where basically,
I bet the LaRoucheites were big into the Trump thing as well.
Use
the whole MAGA communist thing as part of that.
World banking system to unite Russia, China, Brazil, and India with the United States to build a global land bridge that will connect the entire world with one big infrastructure project, and it's going to bring peace to the world by getting everyone to economically cooperate. And so now it's the LaRouche people, their big thing is promoting China's Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah,
because they see the Belt and Road Initiative as basically their version of LaRouche's land bridge idea, and they kind of tried to hint that actually we came up with it or whatever.
We liked it before it was cool.
That's a big, yeah. And when the whole Ukraine crisis broke out with Russia, they were big on being pro Putin and supporting Putin. They formed connections with this Russian economist Sergei Glazeyev, who's apparently pretty influential on Putin. And so they basically kind of in a way reinvent themselves as almost an anti-imperialist group.
What was their feelings towards Trump? Because I know LaRouche died in 2019, so he had a few years under Trump. Did they take any position?
At first, they were anti-Trump, and they thought it was all a like a scam from the elite or whatever. But then they kind of warmed up to Trump, but like they still had ambiguous views on him. And this would complicate things. Like there was a split after LaRouche died. Because the LaRouche movement is like composed of like several different organizations, and they just like all move money between them, and it's all just like this whole patchwork of like front groups and different stuff like that. And so they have split where the LaRouche PAC wing of the movement basically takes like a hard pro-Trump stance, and they're actually the people that I've encountered in real life, like campaigning for Trump. Like they basically just come off as like a pro-MAGA group. But the other wing, the wing that is probably the legitimate followers of LaRouche, because his wife is the leader basically. They have a more ambiguous relationship with Trump. They'll criticize him for like anti-China stuff, but they'll like kind of support him against the deep state or whatever. Like they'll kind of take this position of like, well, the MAGA movement is itself like it has potential of being a way of reinvigorating America, but it's being misled by, whoever their big enemies are, Sure. So I think that's, it's complicated. They have an ambiguous relationship towards Trump, but it's still like, you can see that they do try to like appeal to MAGA people and stuff.
Because we see kind of in the current PATSOC movement, I thought at first it was sort of an ironic praising of Trump, kind of using God Emperor, Trump memes, etc., dark MAGA. Then that started, it was all kind of, at first it was kind of ironic, and now at least some segments of that formation have now more or less unironically accepted MAGA and are on the Trump train. It's fucking fascinating to watch.
It's just absolutely ludicrous, but like, because the whole LaRouche mindset, the way it works is like it's all about this like struggle between different conspiracies of the elite, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they could like see MAGA as like, maybe like split between the two conspiracies of the elite, right? And so Trump himself is like, split between like humanist forces and oligarch forces. So like the LaRouche movement needs to like intervene to like, provide the proper leadership to MAGA basically.
Okay.
And so for them, their big thing is like, we need to get the MAGA people to like support an alliance with Russia and China to, do the Belt and Road Initiative. And so, and they've been on Chinese TV and stuff all the time talking about the Belt and Road Initiative. Like Helga Zepp LaRouche is supposedly known as Miss Belt and Road or whatever in China. That's what they say online. I don't know how true that is, but
and from China's perspective, it's just a novelty that Americans are so vociferously for their policy.
I want to be known as Mr. Belt and Road.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just pure opportunism on the part of China. They see, here's some Americans who are supporting what we want. Yeah. So let's, use them.
Yeah.
You can use me.
And they probably do like
I'm doing this shit pro bono
connections, they kind of, because maybe they do have like some intelligence work stuff that they offer to the Chinese. Like they have a magazine called Executive Intelligence Review, and this has been like a big thing with LaRouche since the 70s. It was like their big kind of pride and joy was their intelligence magazine. And like it costs like, I don't know, $400 for a subscription, but it's like supposedly where they have like all the really good stuff,
Yeah.
All the like really like, niche like intelligence stuff. And but they also have like they'll do like intelligence work just like, per hire. Like I imagine like some of these governments be like, oh, we'll throw you some money if you can find us some information on this connection of you,
I see, yeah.
Which is like a reason to just not be involved with these people at all, because that like anything they learn about you, they're willing to like sell to like other people basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like their only allegiance ultimately is to themselves, So in the end, like their interest in China and then their interest in the Belt and Road Initiative, like in the end, like it's just because they see that as like a way to like get closer to power and somehow maneuver their way into a more powerful position. It's in a way like it's like, as I call it, it's a private intelligence racketeering cult.
And today is there even any semblance of them pretending to be on the left, or is that just completely jettisoned?
Well, I think, because the whole pro-China stuff and the whole pro-Russia stuff, like they are able to like make points that would appeal to leftists, right? Like they're not entirely wrong in all their propaganda today. Like, they'll talk about the war in Ukraine. And
this is what we were talking about. That's why we need to be aware of like
Russia into this war and
how they use
NATO
these
is bad.
appealing
language
anti-NATO
now,
about these subjects, whether it's the Belt and Road Initiative or about imperialism or Ukraine or whatever.
Out of anti-communism?
Out of anti-communism, yeah.
Interesting.
So, but now they're like campaigning against Sweden joining NATO. And, so I think it's, and I actually I had an argument with one of their main guys, Daniel Burke, on Twitter, and I was just like, well, any reasonable point that the LaRouche people make can like be found in Marxism without the insane shit coding.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, well, we have communists in our movement. So I think they have been making
I'm perfectly happy just
again,
being a Marxist.
Especially to people who are disillusioned with the existing left, especially with the failure of Bernie and the kind of a lot of disillusionment after the whole summer of 2020 and all the insurrections that went on there. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of ideological confusion. There's a lot of contradictions in the left. And we're in a really tough time, as a movement. And so I think that a lot of people, they fall prey to a lot of this, kind of culty recruitment stuff because
not
of
us,
existing
though.
contradictions in the left.
Thank goodness that we don't
and I also
have
think
the
there's
same
a little
issues.
bit of like being blown around by the winds of cultural change. Like, if you just live long enough on the left, there's periods of time where the left, like in 2020, for example, seems, hey, we're getting to our feet, and there's times when we feel like, oh, everything's stacked against us. It's a particularly dark period, and these kind of oscillate. And, principled Marxists or people that are rooted in values and a tradition and an analysis keeps them rooted. They weather those storms. But if you're a new leftist, there's nothing wrong with that, or you're just a disaffected Bernie guy. But the winds then move right, and you see yourself being blown to the right. And then, now there's more lefties who are interested in this. Maybe we can reach out, and now there's some communists in our organization. It's very it's very flippant. It's very, arbitrary, and it's very at the whims of the cultural wind shifts.
Exactly. It's like, when you're a Marxist, you educate yourself about history and theory, and you try to get a kind of a broad historical vision of where you are in the grand scheme of things. And so you see that, we're embedded in a struggle that has been going on for, years and years and years, and so much has changed. And we've had tough times and hard times, but the thing is that conditions change, and we have to be able to change the conditions while still staying principled and sticking to our cause. So I think there's a lot of confusion after 2020 with a lot of the ruling class kind of taking up the BLM movement and stuff, and taking up these slogans and trying to do what they call woke capital. And then you have the whole MAGA movement, they do the Capitol riot. And so I feel like a lot of people kind of think oh, well, the revolutionary energy is there. That's where the real dialectical contradiction is. That's where the real action is. And so, there's been this, and a lot of people find that appeal. And I think if you have that broader historical understanding of things, that the left has tried to do that kind of stuff in the past and has completely failed. And that these kind of demagogic, populist figures are not friends of the working class, even when they make decent points.
Yes.
Even when they say the FBI is bad or talk about the role of the CIA in corrupting democracy or whatever, they don't have your best interests at heart,
Absolutely. I think that's incredibly well said. When I criticized that Hinkle guy on Twitter for his MAGA Marxist tweet, somebody in the replies is like, Brett, I really like and respect you. I just wanted to say, he might not be perfect, or, Hinkle might be wrong in these various ways, but, he is right about the Democrats, and he is right about Russia and Ukraine. And my response is lots of people on the new and the alt-right are right more or less on the Russia-Ukraine shit.
That's a good point.
Anybody with half a brain can criticize the Democratic Party. These are not core Marxist principles, and these are not things that make somebody a Marxist or not a Marxist. You could have right-wing articulations of these exact same things. In and of themselves, they are meaningless.
That's a good point.
I think that's something that can hook some people is on this issue and this issue and this issue, they seem so right. So then, I'm more willing to
That's
buy
how they
in
get
on
you.
this other shit that is increasingly Looney Tunes, but it feels like, well, they're at least...
Like we were saying, it's like that's how a lot of us got pulled into the sort of Ron Paul movement, or at least like thought maybe there was something to that. That's how they get you. Is by organizing around these popular things like the anti-war movement, the resistance to the war, the resistance to the drug war. Right? And Ron Paul was a speaker at that Rage Against the War Machine rally on the weekend.
In and of itself.
Yeah. It's like
he's
Caleb
still
Maupin's
alive, yeah,
CPI
somehow.
is interesting because Caleb Maupin was a Marxist. He was in the Workers' World Party for quite some time, and his ideology, he's not really like in public. I don't know what he's doing right now, like because he got exposed in a sex scandal that made him look really bad, and a lot of his own supporters have completely like turned on him, rightfully so. Because he's just turned out to be even more of a scumbag than we realized. But he was and I've heard from various sources that he's been with LaRouche people for 10 years. Even when he was, I think so. He's had those connections with the LaRouche movement for a while. And like I said, he's a Marxist in a lot of ways still. But like
Hate
all
keeps
the
you
places
alive,
where
only
he
the good die
breaks
young.
from Marxism,
That's why you got to be a good person, but you have to have a healthy amount of hate in your heart as well. I think that's how we play both sides and win, Lodane. We keep the hate for our enemies strong in our hearts while also, sticking to our positive principles. With those two things combined, we're going to be alive and well for quite a while, quite some time. Light side Sith. There we go.
Our LaRouche talking points.
Licking an egg a day keeps the doctor away. That's how you get your little bit dose of bacteria.
Anti-synthetic left
builds up your
stuff.
immunity.
There's a bunch of all the ways that Caleb Maupin.
You have to convince the proletariat to direct that hate at the ruling class instead of each other. I mean, that's exactly right. This we all need to get along shit. No, we don't. No, we don't all need to get along. Not at all. We don't want to name names. We don't want to criticize anyone. No, we do. Yes, we do. We do want to. Fuck that. Kwame Ture speaks of this contradiction. Yeah, absolutely.
All just LaRouche talking points.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting because I've always wondered, I have no idea either way. It's is Caleb Maupin himself a LaRoucheist?
But Rob, if you're really not going to get sick from the egg, you need to take a cold shower to stimulate your immune system. That's the big thing in the weird Neanderthal health movement now, the Joe Rogan style people. They're all into ice baths now. They're all taking ice baths every day. They do 3. There's this guy on TikTok that's every single day. It's day 55 of taking an ice. It's minus 28 degrees here, and he goes outside into his ice bath for 3-4 minutes. Why? I don't know. They can't really articulate why. Apparently just has these amazing positive health benefits though once you get out. And I'm just absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not ever going to take an ice bath. Even when I go into a pool and it's kind of chilly, I'm ugh. I hate that shit. It sounds so unpleasant. This guy just sits in his ice bath and spouts off about getting through hard times in life and stuff. I don't know. Okay, but different about aches and pains. That's one thing. If you worked out, you got sore muscles or whatever. This is just a daily, every morning, freezing cold ice bath for 3 minutes. Is that the kind of shit that you're on? Yeah, that's the thing, Jay. We're not talking about playing football and recuperating afterwards. It's waking up in the morning, going outside in the winter, and sitting in a freezing cold bath filled with ice for 3-4 minutes, and that's how you start your day. You gotta get your daily dose of cold particles. That's right. Yes. I have a Bigger Wing's got icicles on his face right now. So this is not, we don't want this. You don't want to voluntarily do this. Axiom derails the research yet again. We've had a lot of discourse today about everything but the thing that we're trying to learn about. This is like the ADHD hour. We're trying to do serious research and we're just like going off into these wild tangents.
Who's like part of like one of their later schemes to like recruit leftists, or is he just like, you know, doing his own kind of thing, but like in league with the LaRouche people, and they kind of like are trying different approaches? Like, I don't know. There's something weird going on there.
Yeah. But opportunists of all stripes will always find some fertile ground in this attempt to, you know, tail reaction, dress it up as the left, do these attempts at whatever, you know, red-brown alliances or the ushering in of right-wing conspiratorial bullshit into left-wing rhetoric or whatever it may be. As long as politics exists, there's going to be people trying to fill in those spots on the political spectrum and make a name for themselves and opportunistically grab at that opportunity. And so, you know, one of the things that an episode like this is supposed to do, and I think Donald and me both agree on this, is to help people, whether you're new to the left, a veteran, or somewhere in between. This has happened before. There's nothing new under the sun. This is a reinvention of a wheel. And by going back and studying closely how these previous manifestations
not
of
a cult,
exact
Baldwin.
same current, you know, lived and died and where they led, we can learn a lot about our present conditions. And if you don't know that, you're much more susceptible, especially if you're new to the left, by being won in by these people. You know.
Yeah, this is Revolutionary Left Radio.
Definitely.
Well,
throw the
we're
link one
coming
more
up on,
time in the chat.
Over an hour and a half, in between an hour and a half and 2 hours here, and I think we covered everything we wanted to cover in this episode. Is there anything else that you want to
do it 3
say
times,
before we
but
wrap up with plugs and recommendations?
There we go.
Any other lessons you think we can draw from this story? Anything at all you want to say before we wrap this up?
But yeah, I think in the end, like, you know, it's not just that these you know, kind of alliances are right and never lead anywhere good. You know, it's also that, like, if you just have to beware of overly charismatic figures who seem to like think that their intellectual talents are the key to the world being
a strategically food safe position to keep your eggs while you're in your ice bath.
I think Marxism is supposed to be, at least parts of Marxism are supposed to be scientific, right? Like, we're trying to develop a scientific understanding of the world, and we're trying to act on that understanding to change the world in a positive way. But if someone isn't willing to like be criticized and have their theories be put up to scrutiny from other people in the name of scientific improvement, then, you know, you're probably not dealing with someone who's doing science. You're probably dealing with a demagogic, you know, cult-like figure, basically.
Absolutely.
And I think you see that tendency all throughout, like, the Marxist left, is like sectarian groups that aren't willing to engage with other leftist groups in criticism and to learn from other leftist groups.
Not much. 10,000 sandwiches.
Seeing their own group as the
nothing really has been going on over here. Don't worry about it.
Need to work with anyone else, or if they do work with anyone else, it's always got to be on their terms only. And, you know, I don't sound like an anarchist because I'm not like against like the idea of a vanguard, and of course, like, I'm very much for building a party and uniting, you know, intellectuals in the workers' movement and stuff. But I think that you know, you just have to watch out for those kind of tendencies.
Absolutely.
And you know, another thing I would add also that doesn't get talked about as much is like the amount of sexual abuse that women in the LaRouche movement were put through. It's, you know, it gets talked about in some of the sources I've read, but there was just a lot of misogyny and patriarchy and domestic abuse going on. So I think there's something to be said about that as well, in the way that you know, it's very much a kind of paternalistic, patriarchal kind of dynamic going on with a lot of these types.
Yeah. And if somebody expresses bigotry in one area, the odds that they also have problematic or retrograde or shitty views in another area are pretty high. So if somebody's railing against LGBTQ people or trans people in particular, the chances that they're going to be super good feminists and, you know, show solidarity with other races goes down dramatically. And those errors permeate and destroy entire organizations, as we've seen time and time again.
Right.
And one thing I wanted to say too, that kind of bouncing off what you said, Donald, is the importance. Of course, we should always be suspicious of any individuals claiming to have superior knowledge, egomaniacs of all sorts, but there also needs to be a stress on communal analysis. No one person understands all of anything. No one person understands all of Marxism, and no one person can apply Marxism perfectly all the time. And so what the best sort of hedge against this sort of cultish behavior, this turn towards reaction, is to be wedded to an organization that can keep you accountable, to have a de-emphasis on individual ecos in favor of an emphasis on communal activity, all of us coming together, and of course tried and true ways of staying connected to the working class, like, let's say, the mass line, these organizing tactics that have been tried throughout history in many different locations and have shown to be successful, and shows how it ties organizations to communities and real material interest of people in those communities. Because when you're completely devoid from that, when you're completely untethered from, the real life day-to-day struggles of regular working people, you can float off into the clouds in any number of directions. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just no alternative to democratic organizing, Like, that's really, what the left has failed in a lot of ways since, the 1960s and 70s. I think a lot of, Leninist groups have failed to understand the importance of, having
freeze mags and get them
accountability,
triple wrapped in
having
Ziploc bags. That's smart.
Structures in organizations, and not creating a system that lends itself to a cult of personality of any kind. Communal analysis, like you said, is exactly what we need. We don't need, one really smart guy who's figured it all out, who's mastered, all the secrets of the universe and discovered the, all the new theories we need. We need people like that who are smart and have interesting ideas and compelling ideas, but they need to be embedded in a movement that keeps them grounded and as one of many other.
Who are we listening to?
Blueberry, thank you very much for the 26 months of Tier 1. I appreciate that. This is the Revolutionary Left Radio episode on Lyndon LaRouche. We're just learning about the LaRoucheites. They do a pretty big deep dive into LaRouche and what he's about and what his background is. So that's the link.
These problems and engaging in a scientific dialogue.
Exactly right. Well, my friend, this has been a fascinating.
Good. We're all good. That was great. We all learned a lot, even if maybe the discourse wasn't always on topic. I think it was good to make this deep dive into the LaRoucheites. It led to some good content. Here's one more time. I will show you the historic moment. The historic moment which will live on forever in the lore of this program. Goodbye, part 2. You ready for this? I put it back, Lodane. Look at my face. Look at my cheeky expression. Oh my goodness. This is why you come to this stream and not other streams, folks. This is the kind of content that you just can't get. You cannot get this kind of content anywhere else on this platform, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, Friendster, Bebo, Fark.com, Google Plus. You can't find this kind of content anywhere other than right here on TRRS. And I would encourage people to please, if you haven't already, if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy this community, Quibi, of course, please subscribe. A few generous chatters could get us closer to the sub goal. We've had all kinds of crazy, exciting times today. Iconic moments have happened today on the stream. And if you're not convinced by this kind of content, one last time, we'll put on this little video presentation for you. Okay? So please, if you love the content, if you like the community, you want to support the show, please subscribe and join the Friendship Triangle community. The new dig. Yeah, TRS is the new dig. Here we go.
Thank you for expressing interest in the Friendship Triangle community. We would be thrilled to have you on board as a member of our exclusive platform. As you may know, the Friendship Triangle is Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, friendship access and trickle-down cloud tiered reward system. Today you have an amazing opportunity to join the base level of the Friendship Triangle system. Once you are part of the community, you'll have the ability to rise through the ranks and achieve higher levels of access and rewards. One way to do this is by gifting subscriptions to your fellow members or by inviting your friends and family members to join our community. As you ascend the tiers, you will be exposed to a range of new and exciting benefits, such as exclusive content, advanced features, and access to our elite community members. We are confident that you will enjoy all the perks that come with being part of the Friendship Triangle. However, we also want to remind you that not all friends and family members are to be trusted, especially those who may not support your new lifestyle. That's why we encourage you to focus on building meaningful relationships within our community, where you will find like-minded individuals who share your interests and values. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are always here to support our members and ensure that your experience with the Friendship Triangle is enjoyable. We're glad that you are considering joining the Friendship Triangle community. We look forward to seeing you rise through the Chaos Zone and all the way into the Elite tier. It's not a cult.
There we go. There we go. Do we hear 25? Is that a possibility? Just a few generous chatters could get us there before I have to go.
You can count on me.
I'm very
and that
tired.
good old Rob
I'm very tired, so I do have to go soon, and I gotta go pick up my kid from school. Heroic Skeleton, thank you for the 10 months of Prime. Thank you to Heroic Skeleton. Again, folks, you're simply not going to find this content anywhere else on this platform or anywhere else. The only way that this incredibly unique content can stay on the air is through the extreme generosity of these very community members. You set a dangerous precedent. You might need to lick more eggs. That was a one-time deal. That was a one-time deal, Praxid. Okay? It would be funny if tomorrow I was like out of commission, like just like on death's door, like deathly ill. That would be kind of an unexpected twist to this whole plot line. One for the edges. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Okay, well I gotta go. I tried. Just yokin. Why? I'm very tired. I am very, very tired. Did that raid just not work just now? What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay. Show's over, innit? Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. I will talk to you all tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow. Okay? I can't see the raid countdown for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm just going to wait for it to... At some point, I guess I'm just going to figure out that I'll raid somebody.
You've just become an elite
Oh
member
my goodness,
of the
Gen X
Friendship
Bushy.
Triangle.
Gen X Bushy, hell yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll talk to you folks tomorrow. I have no idea whether I rated or if there's people still watching. No idea.